Hello. Hi, everyone.
Hello there. Hi, Wendy.
Hi, Big Amish. How are you?
Oh, good.
Welcome.
Great.
And we meet again.
Thank you for having me. Hello, everyone in the chat. Good to
Hi,
see you.
everyone. Kelly, Gail. I think Alicia said she was going to be here. I'm so sorry. You know how it is. Here we get stuck into talking about Idaho stuff. And yeah. So, of course, we've got Big Amish today. We're very happy to have him, as always.
Well, my pleasure to be here. Thank you. It's an honor to be here. Thank you, Wendy.
Well, you've been putting out a lot of nice videos, Big Amish. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you. It's been the video content all stems from our shows together, and it's been great. You've been very insightful, very helpful, and so has the chat, obviously, as well. So
Yes, so if you so before we get to today's video, also yes, everybody in the chat. Hi, Alicia. So good to see you. We were just talking about you, and yeah. So some of the videos that you've made were really really good. The last one, I don't know if we're going to get chance to play that one today. But if you haven't, go over to Big Amish's channel and subscribe. I will put the link in the description, or it should be in the description already. It's not a long video, so I'm thinking, Big Amish, before we go to the Goncalves video, would you mind if we actually played a little bit of your video?
that's up to you if people want to tolerate it. But thank you.
It's a short video. Is everybody okay with that? So we could just quickly go over it briefly as to what's going to happen, and then you can just give us your comments on that, and we'll head to the next video after that. If that's okay. Okay.
Oh, there's Alicia.
That was a good one.
Yep.
If we didn't greet you, hi. I'm just keeping an eye on the chat and on this. So let me see if I can also open this one. Okay. This was a really, really good video. And it's not that long, so we can just have a look at that one. Okay.
1 second.
I must say that I like the
1 second.
I like the thumbnail. Okay, so all right. Go right back. Okay.
Did the Idaho court system deliver justice, or did it force a surrender? Today, we pull back the curtain on the unseen pressures driving this case, from Gregory Rush's calculated legal strike to the explosive secret plea pushes witnessed by Steve Goncalves. This is the record exposed. Part 1, the anatomy of the pivot. Before you can understand the recusal, you must understand the trap. 68 terabytes of unindexed data handled to the defense just weeks before a capital trial. That isn't discovery, that is a wall. When the court denied time to review it, a fair trial became a physical impossibility. This data wall didn't just stall the defense, it forced the Ann Taylor pivot. Under the Sixth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution and U.S. v. Chronic, a Supreme Court case, when the court creates conditions where no lawyer could reasonably prepare, prejudice is presumed. The choice to plead under these constraints wasn't strategy, it was structural duress. In just 14 days, the defense backed into a corner, shift from trial prep to capital survival. When a system leaves a defendant with one hand tied behind their back, a signed deal isn't a free choice, it's a tactical surrender. Part 2, Rausch's strategic strike, the move that changes everything. Why did Gregory Rausch demand the raw audio of the July 2nd hearing? Because paper lies, paper hides hesitations, pauses, and coached answers. Rausch isn't reading the transcript. He is hunting for the tone of coercion. Under Boykin v. Alabama, a plea must be voluntary, but a yes spoken under extreme duress sounds entirely different than a yes spoken in truth. Rausch is building a nonverbal record to prove a Hobson's choice. This is the domino effect. Step 1, capture the raw audio. Step 2, prove the colloquy failed constitutional standards. Step 3, trigger the mandatory recusal of a judge who was never a neutral observer. Part 3, the Goncalves revelation. The witness from inside the process. Steve Goncalves broke the silence. He revealed that Judge Hippler wasn't just sitting on the bench. He was actively brokering plea deals behind closed doors.
Big Amish, just a quick stop there. You mentioned about the recusal of Judge Hippler. We are going to be getting that out pretty soon.
Yes, very soon. Hopefully, even by tomorrow. I was figuring out the QR codes and try to get assistance, but I have figured that part out. It's just putting it out there and making it so I'm trying to get it and get the understanding of how to do the following is to actually get it sent from anyone who clicks on the QR code and does whatever they need to do. It goes right to the courthouse, to the chief judge's chambers and the clerk of the court for the chief judge. Sorry.
Yeah, this is huge. Big Amish has done a lot of work on this, so keep an eye out for that. And then, with regard to Steve, I'm just going to play a little bit, and then it's going to tie into the next video. Do you want to speak a little bit about what Steve Goncalves revealed?
Well, Steve G admitted that there were two things. One, he talked about the plea negotiations going on, and he said that Judge Hippler was driving that and mentioned the Alford plea discussions. But the second part, this is the troubling part that raises an issue of bias and who Judge Hippler is. He threatened the G's, Steve G and his wife, for interfering with the judicial proceeding or the plea or that plea on July 2nd, if I'm not mistaken. So, and he threatened them. That is totally unacceptable for any judge to do that. And he was giving the reasons why, but they said that in an interview. I think I put it out there. But that was clear as day that they were threatened. That's from both Christy and Steve's mouths that they were threatened by the judge. I think they gave out a phone number as well, or to contact. I think how they had it was to contact the judge or the court and let them know that you're opposed to the plea. And that's, I think, how it started. But that's the context of what their argument was or disagreement with the judge, because the G's did not want a plea agreement and the judge was forcing one. So if that's not a conflict, if that doesn't show bias attacking victims' families, I don't know what is. So
obviously, all right, let's go on.
Doors. The moment a judge becomes a plea negotiator, he ceases to be a neutral judge. Now, let's look at the record. Pushing an Alford plea skips the truth-finding mandate of Rule 11. Personal involvement in deal terms destroys separation of roles. The court was driving for finality at the direct expense of due process. Now it gets worse. Steve Goncalves alleged the judge threatened his family with sanctions for interfering with the resolution. Using the power of the bench to threaten families into silence is the ultimate red flag of judicial bias. In Steve's own words, he threatened us for interfering with a judicial proceeding. He was the one pushing the plea deal behind the scenes. Read that again and tell me this court remained impartial. Part 4, the judicial loop, the constitutional trap that requires recusal. Under the case In re Murchison, a judge cannot investigate the state's integrity on leaks while simultaneously brokering the state's plea deal. Wearing the investigator hat and the judge hat at the exact same time creates an unconstitutional loop. The law doesn't require us to prove subjective evil in the judge's heart. Under Caperton and Murchison, the standard is the objective risk of bias. An entangled judge cannot act as the gatekeeper over his own potential conflict. Recusal is mandatory. Prosecutor Bill Thompson openly stated an allocution was unnecessary because the defendant would lie. But Rule 11 requires a factual basis. If the state calls the speaker a liar, the legal basis for accepting his plea is completely undermined. Now let's look at the Gregory Rauch's roadmap. Disqualify the judge. Open discovery into the audio and chambers meetings. Void the plea for structural error and revert this case back to a fair trial-ready status with a neutral court. Accountability belongs to the people. In 48 hours, our verified petition for independent judicial review goes live. Scan the code, lock in your signature, and stand up for constitutional due process. Protect the Constitution. There you go.
Okay, great video. All right, so we've established that
One of the
Kepler
things,
was threatening Steve, correct?
yeah, it was threatening Steve and his wife, absolutely, of contempt, throwing him in jail for doing that. Because there was the gag, I don't know what he was using. The judge was threatening him with contempt, or I don't know what other sanctions there would be. So if you violate a court order, that is one of the powers of a judge, or they could fine you. So, but they made it seem, they were very upset that the judge did that. So
you're going to see them talk about it in this video. I don't think they talk about the threat specifically. I just want to go over it again because I had a quick watch.
Okay.
But yes, Kelly brings up a good point. Isn't what they were doing actually contempt of court? Yes, technically, because I know Steve at one point, I believe, hired people to dig around himself, didn't he? Just correct me on that. But that is what I heard. That he was also in some way interfering with the investigation, right?
Well, with because he was constantly, he had his own. He was contacting different people as well. So it would be an investigation of law enforcement. But I got to look back at the gag order. Doesn't necessarily stop you from doing that. But I would have to go back to the gag order to see. One issue is talking about things. Another thing is you searching for or doing an investigation with others into what you feel you should be looking at to figure out things for your daughter's passing. So it could very well be, but the judge on an investigation, that would have to be brought up by either Thompson, and then they're brought in. It's kind of a secondary aspect because the charges against Bryan Kohberger should not relate to a secondary investigation involving family members, unless BK's raising it. If it's raised by the prosecution that they're interfering with our investigations, and in this case, that should be set up separately, because it should. Now, I don't know if it did or didn't, but it's a good question what you're raising. In my opinion, it's something that, again, is the judge wearing two hats. You can't do that. You can't be looking into different things that may show bias, and then ultimately the bias affecting the Sixth Amendment rights to, Bryan Kohberger. So even though it's towards the Goncalveses, it shows that this judge is a hothead or is willing to
Yeah.
do things that shows a bias. And some might argue, well, he's protecting the integrity of the investigation. Well, that's one way of
Well,
looking at it.
remember when Judge Hippler lifted the gag order, and this was pretty much the same time that he refused to immediately unseal all the case documents, right? So this was what upset Steve Goncalves. And
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
remember that. And then
Yes,
he
yes,
said
yes,
his
yes.
excuse was that the family felt they needed all of the evidence to prepare their victim impact
Impact.
statements.
Yes, he asked, and he was told they would give him everything. He asked for it,
Yes.
and they switched the tables on him. Again, you're showing gamesmanship. So what changed? What changed to do that? Number one, just thinking out loud, I don't think you could ever give everything to a victim's family, but that's what he's saying, that they were going to be totally transparent. So, on one hand, you know, we take him at his word. I mean, if these are the discussions that they had, and it's devastating to the prosecution and the judge if that's the case, because it shows, okay, we're going to get everything. Meanwhile, no one else, the public is not getting everything, but they switch the tables for whatever reason. But it does show a bias and who the judge is and the
Yeah.
prosecution for that matter.
Yeah, and it's just interesting that they would need that for their victim impact statements. I know that he said they used this gag order to hide how the case was managed, and that they didn't want the family knowing exactly what had happened to Kaylee
Yes.
before they could deliver the victim impact statements.
Yes.
But
Makes
does
sense.
that seem a valid argument, really?
It makes sense on one hand, but what do we know happened before this? In early 2023, what did the Gonzaleses do? They sent a notice of a claim to WSU. So they were already
Yes.
thinking of a civil lawsuit. So what's the easiest way to get information to help your attorney in a civil lawsuit is to get all the discovery in the criminal case and
Yeah,
prepare.
that's true. That's true.
So it's a double-edged sword that they're going with, or weaponization of what the intent was. So, and that's what you see. You see someone
You
very
bring up a
cunning.
very interesting point there.
Yeah. Steve G is very cunning, and he probably said, "Look, I need this. It's going to help us in the." Maybe he said that, but that is a very cunning move. But people
Mhm.
typically would do that, in my opinion, use whatever they can in a criminal trial, and that's why a lot of times well, in this type of case, they had it concealed, and because there's so many defects, right? There's so many problems with this whole case, but just on the evidence alone and report, just even looking at that, but we're talking about everything, but just looking at that, and if they would release it to Steve G,
Mhm.
the dangers then is the defense then would say, wait a second, you is there something in there that we didn't receive? And you could see how it unfolds, and it could potentially be disastrous for the prosecution and plea, or if they ever went to trial. So
Here's a question: if they didn't know, how could they file that lawsuit regarding stalking if they didn't know that there was stalking involved?
well, this goes to your question earlier. What investigation were they doing? And follows on the heels. That's number one. But your point is very valid, what you're raising. Where did they get it? Right. And now you're seeing potentially a violation of that gag order to assist a family that has a financial interest. And that was the prosecution doing that. Did Thompson do it? Because everything that I've seen so far of Steve G, which is not a lot, but just certain ones, because this guy's all over the place on different shows and events and the things. But what is clear that he is driven, or at least seems to be driven by money. Um,
Mhm.
and I'm sorry, I lost my track of thought. I'm having a rough.
Driven by money on
What's that?
the cross country tour, driven by money on no, the lawsuit.
Yeah, the lawsuit. I was trying to make a point as far as so the as far as him having an having an investigation of his own. So that was his focus, getting those whatever transparency that he was told he would get everything. But Thompson, oh, this is it. Thompson versus Hurwitz. It seems everything changed. Thompson being obviously the state prosecutor there. But then you had Hurwitz coming to the picture, and Steve G never mentions Hurwitz really when he talks about what I've seen, and that's limited. So I'm conditioning and qualifying my response here. But he never says anything more
Why do you think he never mentions Hurwitz?
because I think there's something he's hiding something. Something happened with Hurwitz, and it could very well be this and the blowout with the judge. But he doesn't mention him because I think he realizes that's a powerful person. So not to mess. He's one thing to mess around with Thompson at a local state level, and another thing to deal or speak badly about Hurwitz, who shifted from being the U.S. Attorney of Idaho to special state prosecutor, right? And now he's in private practice, but he's he's avoiding Hurwitz for some reason. And the only thing I could think of, at least now, just on the top of my head, is that he was concerned. He was concerned because Hurwitz was the one who probably threatened him, and then Judge Hippler got wind of it as well. And so that's kind of how I'm thinking it was brought up, right? And it could have been in chambers. A lot of things
Mhm.
here. This is what's so sad is the transparency. A lot of things were happening behind closed doors, and so if we know one thing, Hurwitz, I don't think says anything uh, during the allocution or the plea. I mean, he's there. He's talking on the side there with, I don't know if it was Ashley Jennings at one point or not, but he he doesn't get involved publicly as much as we would see. There's a high probability that Mr. Hurwitz was driving and becoming very intolerable to everyone. That's just my opinion. But I base it on how the judge's orders of February 19th, 2025, the motion to suppress and motion to compel denied, all about whether it's the federal subpoenas, the grand jury subpoenas that were used, and the defense never got the copies of the initial pages of them, so you could tell who was being targeted, what federal crime was being used, right, as the predicate to impanel a federal grand jury, and also the scope of the discovery being sought. And you could tell so much. Were there others other than Bryan Kohberger that information was being sought? They never got that information. The judge stonewalled them, stonewalled Ann Taylor from getting that information. It's critical. And his basis was they simply fulfilled a support role. And they're not the sovereign prosecuting the case, which I think there's real doubts now. I think it's probably more likely than not. And based on my position, it's my position that the feds were the ones who identified BK and were the ones using the state and the local authorities as proxies to do their prosecution of Bryan Kohberger. That's my opinion. Um, So you have that, and we see all the rest of this information, the DNA analysis of how it goes to the FBI or the use of CODIS. So the DNA, the 10 skin cells. So that being run in CODIS. First off, it doesn't meet the quality assurance standards of 20 or more cells. That was missing. So you have a below standard, a violation of due process, an argument to be made, at least just on that standard. It then gets sent to Othram by the state. So you notice the state takes over and sends it to Othram so the feds don't look like they're driving it. And then it ultimately comes back to the feds. But Othram then takes that 10 skin cells, which is considered, in my opinion, a second search. They amplify it using AI algorithms,
Yeah.
which algorithm is not provided to the defense team. They have no idea what voodoo they used to do it, right? Because that's
Yeah.
what I would call it. We don't. So they're hiding how they amplified it, right, to get the mountain of DNA that Mr. Middleman claims. That then gets shipped back to the state. Then it gets shipped to the FBI, who runs it now, which is now a third search. No warrants, right? No warrant for the second search. You have the manipulation of evidence by Othram. Whatever they do, they manipulate it. They make the Frankenstein DNA. They then send it, eventually goes back to the FBI. There's your third search. But now the third search contains this Frankenstein DNA. That's how it,
Yeah.
and that's how they get the hit. So that is very concerning. And I hope I laid that out. It's very concerning on different levels to see how it was manipulated and who was driving it, who has access to Othram. Do you really think Thompson had that access?
No,
Who was
I
driving
don't think so.
it? So, and then we have obviously the PSI-Ray, the 90% missing cell tower data, and the cell phone data that was withheld by Mr. Balance, nor was he offered for questioning to Ann Taylor, which she asked for. Everything was reasonable, and that's how it should have unfolded. Everything's based on reasonableness. Is it reasonable for you to ask or obtain this information? Hell yes, especially if Othram, one is there wasn't enough skin cells, number one, so you create the Frankenstein DNA, had to go through the loops of Othram. You mean to tell me you don't, it's not a reasonable basis to question or get that information, to figure out how it was done and if it's even legal to do it, number one? And I know they claim proprietary reasons for it, just like Apple does. And that's why they use Celebrite to go behind they go through the back door to get information. This is why it's just
So
disgusting.
underhanded. It is so underhanded the way they did that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to go off on a tangent. So I'll stop there.
No, all good. So, all right, guys, do you wanna have a look at this video? We're just going to look at. Oh, sorry, it's big. We're going to look at a video that they went on Goncalves family. I know you all like watching them. Sorry. But you're going to see here in this video how much they actually leave out. So they tell their version of events, but that's it. They don't say anything. They leave out so much. Okay, so
Okay.
all right, let me just you can see it.
I don't think he intentionally went into that house to kill 4. I think he intended on killing 1, and that is either Kayla or Maddie.
We've now found out that
Just tell me if you want me to stop, right?
Yeah. Or I mean, the fact that they admitted it's either Kaylee or Maddie. And wow. Okay. It's raising questions. I mean, Maddie was probably the target. And then I just comes to mind when they were walking and Kaylee says, "What did you tell Adam?" Right? And Maddie says, "I told him everything from what I remember." That's just my interpretation of the sounds and the recording. But and then okay, it's just I'm sorry, everyone. I had a rough morning, evening, so it takes me a little while to warm up. Thank your patience and thank you, Win.
No problem.
They consulted with the murderers, the mass murderers family, before they consulted with us. That's how upside down our system is. I'm going to let your audience know something that I don't think anyone's talked about, which they told us at the very end. They were going to have an expert that came on and said that thumb, the print, had multiple touch points on it. So they were going to say there was fresh fingerprint type, and then there was aged ones. There was some that had been dated. So they were going to say that whoever did this single source, one person's DNA, had touched this button multiple times.
He's lying here, but anyway.
So I'm assuming, does he go into it later, and does he say that's BK?
He does. That's all he says. But we'll kind of like jump to points in the videos. But yeah,
that's a good sound bite to set us up. Wow. Yes, it is strange.
7 weeks, and it was pure torture. It was agony. It was like what I would imagine hell being like. It was just terror, fear, sadness, anger. I feel like he is a demon.
Wow.
I feel like he is like, like the devil himself.
It's possessed.
And am I supposed to forgive a demon? Am I supposed to forgive the devil?
He took a plea, and it was going to be life in prison, no chance of parole. A lot of the parents were upset because that means no chance of the death penalty. And now last minute, he comes up with, I think I'll take that trial now, which then may open him up to the death penalty, which I think is actually a pretty good thing. Netflix, I think, did the greatest documentary. It's actually called Idaho Murders, College Nightmare. It's a parent's worst nightmare. It is the greatest fear a parent has when you have children. It was amazing. When I grew up, I talked about this a lot. I was a kid that ran the streets. My parents worked all the time. And then how did I grow into a helicopter parent? It's crazy. And I did, because I knew I want my kids doing what I did, to be very blunt. Now, Christy and Steve Goncalves are with us. They lost their precious daughter, Kaylee, one of the 4 college kids murdered. The amount of detail in this documentary, and I watched the whole thing, it was just released not that long ago, at the end of July, is unbelievable. But first, my deepest sympathy to both of you. I am so sorry. I don't know. You have been unlike a lot of other parents that lose children. You are willing to fight. You're willing to do media. You're willing to remind people who your daughter was. You just gave me this beautiful card. And I want you, before we even get started, I want you to, and it's a picture of your daughter, and it's a legacy of love, and, about for her. Mm-hmm. And it's also about helping other families, forensics. And
time to go back and pull these cases off. And so funding is what is stopping their cases from being answered. So we're paying for that.
So this technology's only been around for 6 or 7 years. So think of every case before that. You went into CODIS, which is 19 million people. Back then, I don't know what it was. If you don't get a hit, your case goes gold, for the most part. Well, the world's changed. And thank God our case is an example of how the world's changed. Technology. If you think you can get away with these crimes, I got something for you, man. You're not going to get away with it anymore. The world has changed. Technology's catching up. We're coming for you. We're hunting the killers now. That's what this is about. We're taking technology. We're coming after everyone who thought they got away with this. And now we're going to put you in your place.
He's a real goon.
Wow. That is... what is his role? I mean, we're coming after him. What is this? Yeah, we.
I wanted to get everybody's input on that. Like, this guy is a mobster.
Yeah. I mean, but for him to put himself with law enforcement, now he's basically saying he's law enforcement, right? I mean, how else? And we're coming after you. I'm laughing on one hand. On the other hand, it's, okay, well, if you want to take him at his word and say, well, how would you go after people? What authority are you using to do this? It's just very strange that he's bringing this up in this fashion, and how he's related.
What did I tell you? Steve doesn't think before he runs his mouth.
Yeah, 100%. And the fact that they brought up, I guess there was a lot of emotion before that with the parents. So I'm just trying to figure out what Hannity set up the narratives for. First, you feel outrage a little bit, then you feel the empathy and sympathy, depending on if you experienced any of that from the parents, which I totally understand. But okay, I'm sorry.
Well, what makes this case unique in this sense is this guy seemed to be studying criminology, how to plan the perfect murder. And then he leaves this knife sheath. And the most bizarre thing to me is when I'm watching the Netflix series and they said there was no blood, they discovered nothing in his car. Yeah. He thought he was clever. He turned off his phone. He drove a whole other way home. But then, of course, we have surveillance camera, thank God, technology. You see his car go in, 3 or 4 times, and then he goes in about 4 o'clock in the morning, and this is when these murders are committed. Let's talk about what you have figured out about that night and about this guy. I mean, one of the most heart-wrenching things is I know your story and I've read it inside and out and watched this series, is you don't know what motivated this guy. Why these girls? Why this house? Why these 4 kids? There was other people in the house. He came eyeball to eyeball with another girl in the house, didn't kill her. It's mind-numbing to me, Steve.
I think he's seen something so beautiful in that house with that camaraderie, the way that they gravitated and they had like friends, all these parties. That was like the place to be. They called it the Queens on the King Road.
Queens on King.
Queens on King. Like that was opposite of what was inside of him. This dark evilness, this cold thing that he couldn't relate to society. And he just wanted to be vengeful, to find that one group of people that had everything he didn't have. And he just did that loop over and over and just pumped himself up. And that's if I was the prosecutor, that's where my thoughts would have been.
But you never got to any of those answers.
No, because he chose his will over the victim's will. He thought, I don't need to have these answers. I mean, if it was his child, he would have needed to have those answers, but it's not his child. So he's like, I don't need the answers.
He told us it doesn't matter. And we were like, it does matter. He said, is it, it's not going to change anything.
Yeah, talk about wanting to grab a prosecutor.
Well, it does. We want to know.
They didn't have to do a plea deal. You never have to do a plea deal.
No.
And you were not happy particularly at the time. Neither one of you, right?
No, not at all. Yeah. We were infuriated. Yeah. We were losing our mind.
There's concessions that they can do and say, yes, we'll give you a plea, but you're going to say what that second weapon is, because we've never told the general public what those wounds look like and what that is. If your weapon matches that and the experts agree with it, we're good.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so that's what a professional does.
There was a second weapon that was used only on Kaylee, and even the FBI, who specializes in, being able to identify wound patterns and whatnot, have not been able to identify that. So, if he were to say this or that, there would be somebody probably be able to confirm.
When they're making this plea deal and you're talking to the prosecutors, what are you telling them?
Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. No. What do you mean?
They listen.
It was too late. By the time we got the email, the deal had already been sent over. It had already been sent over. And they said we can meet with, and it happened on a Sunday. And we got the email around 5 p.m. that they had made the offer.
So they probably knew where you'd come down.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
So Sean, what you described, you never recover from something like this. As a parent, you can't go to the store and buy another Kaylee J. You just can't. So you never recover. You can try to pretend. You can put a happy face on. You can be motivated. You can start an organization. I'm probably a lot like you. You piss me off and I'm going to come for you, and I'm going to come for you in a way that you've never seen. I'm going to be the worst victim in the history of being victims. So that was our motivation. Wow. But you don't recover from this. And when you have
he's so
yes, he's we're the worst victim. We're going to make it a nightmare, whatever. I mean, he just loves playing this role. But it shows you, and I'm glad you actually brought this up. They were totally opposed to the plea.
Yeah.
And no discussions were heard with. Obviously, he's not mentioning it, but clearly referencing Thompson and the judge. I don't know if they go into more about the judge. And I think Christy was
I
about
think
to.
they do.
Oh,
Yes.
they okay. And Christy was about to give more information. And I guess the camera angle. I don't know if Steve is tapping her, to maybe stop at certain stuff, depending on the camera angle.
I think there is a sign there, like he interrupts her when he doesn't want her to say something, because
she cut
you
off.
see there where she brought up about a second weapon.
Oh yeah,
Now,
I'm sorry. Yes, go ahead. Tell me.
yes.
Yeah, that is okay. So how is he committing the crimes then? He has 2 weapons in his hand.
So please, if somebody can explain to me, they're literally admitting a second weapon here. Now, what second weapon? Because we don't know anything about a second weapon. We were never told anything. That we were told he went in there with a K-bar, right? So where did he carry the second weapon? With his teeth? Did he have it in his, like a dog carrying a bone around? How did he go in there with a second weapon?
I'm just picturing. Oh my God! And not interfering with his mask. Of course.
I remember he was naked. He was running through the house naked with a knife and and 2 weapons. What on earth?
And is able to get dressed again and walk past Dylan casually. A casual stroll.
That's why she only mentions the mask. She couldn't identify his naked butts. Sorry, guys, we're not being disrespectful. We've got to laugh a bit.
Yes, laughing is great medicine.
But the minute she mentions a second weapon, Steve kind of shuts her up, right? He does not want to say anything.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. I said that's exactly right. Go ahead. You were saying.
No. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean that again. He's raising questions. Every interview they do, they demonize BK, but then they provide certain information that kind of helps him. This second weapon, they must know what it is. And I don't know if Christy was going to go into that and I mean, I have no clue, but this is, I mean, wow, it's kind of powerful. We may not like them. They did lose the door. We might not like them, but I'm looking at the information, how that information that they're giving could be helpful for.
Oh, it is. It's going to be very helpful in this case for Bryan. I think they are helping him directly.
Yes, I think so. That's how I'm reading it, because it's like dual use on something. You're having a dual use. Their statements are dual use. They didn't have to go into that. No one, I don't think Hannity, asked them that question about multiple. He just asked, I guess they were just discussing what happened. But yeah, and I don't think that's ever come out in other interviews. I'm not sure. Second one. I just want
to see what they say. Do you want to? Sorry, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I just want to. Bluebird said something because regarding the walk with Kaylee and Maddie when she said, "Did you tell Adam?" Now I know she says that it wasn't what did you say to Adam, it's what did you sell to Adam. If that is the case, wow, I didn't think about that, but that changes a lot and in my mind, and I'll just leave it at that. Don't want to use it, but thank you, Bluebird. That's very, very helpful.
Yeah, thank you, Kelly. Okay.
Prosecutor saying, I don't have the fight that you have, and I just want this over. I remember going after him and saying, I will work my tail off to tell the world how you sold me.
I applaud you, because I think every time you do a show, a podcast, and you've been on my show and other shows on Fox and other networks, every time you're now reliving it. Just to maybe put emphasis on what it means if you lose a child, which I think is the hardest thing for any parent to go through. What is every day like? Here's what I imagine. Tell me if I'm wrong.
I'm going to skip.
Your eyes open up.
And because I just go on here.
Okay.
attention. We just can't get out of the camera, get enough camera. And, it's like,
Can't get enough.
I would much rather, I would do anything to not be ever on any show, any Netflix documentary, on any 48 hours, and have Kaylee back. And we don't do it for exposure of us. We're here to talk about Kaylee. We're here to talk about what happened. We're here to talk about, our foundation that wants to help people, get answers to what happened to their children, or their mother or their father, who have gone years with no answers. We went 7 weeks, and it was pure torture. It was agony. It was like living in, like, what I would imagine hell, being like just bad, just nothing good. Just every emotion there is to feel, but anything positive. There was no good. There was no labs that we have partnered with, and they could help them, and with the law enforcement. I think paying for it is just a small thing, that our foundation can do to get these people that phone call that we got that night, and from our attorney, and said they've made an arrest. And that changed everything.
So, Sean, I'll tell you from a father, because that's how we relate. We're men of a certain character. When you own your family, you own your security. And when the 7 weeks, I couldn't keep my family secure. They would tell me, what if he's under our car? What if he's in the back alley? I have 8 acres, so I have privacy. They're like, Dad, he could be anywhere in the woods. And I just put guns all through my house and said, we will not live like this. We will not live in fear. I hated that a man could do that to my.
I simply want to mention, this is all emotional distress, right? Emotional damage. It's related to the WSU lawsuit. They're setting up, saying, yes, they've gone through. I'm not disputing they lost a child and they're going through it, but it impacts a civil lawsuit, because it's what you're endured. So not only the death of your daughter, right? You now have to live with potentially that person attacking you and the rest of your family. So the claims and the damages are spreading out. From what he's saying, I'm just giving you my insight, my opinion.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, and Bluebird, I didn't mean, Steve G did talk about in interviews. I did see that he talked about the marks on Kaylee's face, but I've never heard Christy say anything. And again, I'm limited in watching different interviews, so I apologize. Go ahead.
Family that could put us in a situation where we were living in fear. And I wasn't living in fear, but I couldn't install that in everyone. So I'm waking up early, going outside, making sure that our security lights are working, our cameras are on, we're doing all these things. But that's what it's like to go through it, and to know that some families never get it. They never get they never figure out who he is. Like, how would I have done that for every day for the rest of my life? I'm going out there trying to see.
What was their explanation to you why they did not consult with you?
It's worse than that, because we've now found out that they consulted with the mass murderers family, before they consulted with us. That's how upside down our system is. And they encourage this.
His PCR.
Keep going in Kaylee's name and Maddie's name. Let's do it. Let's make it happen.
Let me go back to the both of you consistently wanted the death penalty, which, by the way, I agree with both of you adamantly. I think this guy deserved the death penalty. And I don't know why they made a plea deal and then didn't tell you until after the deal was done. You should have been consulted. The other family should have been consulted. Now, they're not as outspoken as you, but they, what you told me before we came on the air, they do encourage you to keep these names alive and justice. What was their explanation to you why they did not consult with you?
It's worse than that, because we've now found out that they consulted with the mass murderers family, before they consulted with us. That's how upside down our system is.
And
they've encouraged this.
His PCR, his post-conviction relief, it states that these conversations, the plea deal conversations, were made with himself and his family. So he's using.
There you go.
Just a quick stop, guys. In the comments, everybody's saying yes. So Begavish, I told you about that interview with Turvey. That's the one we'll go over tomorrow. So guys, we'll try be on about 9 a.m. tomorrow, and we'll go over the Turvey one. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. Sorry, Begamish, you were saying?
No, this is so they're supporting BK's PCR by Steve G laying out that the prosecution and or judge, I don't know, at least the prosecution was involved in plea negotiations with the family, right? Who BK said were part of the plea negotiations. There are witnesses. So Steve G and Christie are basically acknowledging that the family were witnesses to the plea deal. So this is devastating. Devastating for the state trying to keep a lid on this information of the plea deal. This is all going to eviscerate and blow up in their face. So again, dual use. They're saying something that you would think is so horrible to them, but it's helpful for BK and his PCR. But go ahead. That's all. I just wanted to bring that up. And what do you think, Wendy?
That's a great point. I think so too.
Good.
If they were smart, they wouldn't be admitting.
Well, I think they have another agenda, right? And whatever that is, I really believe now in thinking about it, and I think I said it before, Steve G he has to be involved on the Fed side somehow because he leaves Hurwitz. Now I understand why he's leaving Hurwitz out. And he has, in my opinion, it's just that he's involved. Because everything is blaming Thompson, which, yes, but he's leaving the feds out and he's acting as law enforcement, making all these claims. But wasn't
he threatened at some point? Because there was a point where, right in the beginning, I don't know if you remember, that Steve was involved in the investigation with the feds, right? And
I didn't. I've not seen, or I didn't get involved in the case till the plea time, or at least looked at it. That's the only thing I saw. And then probably in the fall of 2025 is when I started watching maybe different videos. So I didn't know how that all, his involvement. And so you're saying he was involved, assisting, or however he was with the federal.
Well, in the beginning, right? Yeah. There was a story that Steve actually was very open to the possibility that there were more perpetrators in the house on the night, right? And he was. And so I think it was about a year after this, that he said that there were possibly other perpetrators in the house, right? He had gone on to do his own investigation. So apparently he sent a message to a friend that was some kind of a jailhouse snitch.
Okay.
And so according to what I remember, there was some story that was overheard in the prison yard, and this story was supposed to tie up all of the loose ends in this case. And I think this is what Steve got, but he had a private detective, and they looked into all of this.
It's very interesting, and it makes sense why he would come to that conclusion, because that's the conclusion we all have come to. There's male blood, B and D, two other males in the home. There's no blood of BK's. but yet probable cause was determined that he was the one.
Yes.
There's male blood in the house of B and D, two different people. So that supports. And if I was in Steve G's shoes, not that I would want to be, of course I would come to that conclusion. Just based on that alone, there are other perpetrators and
Yeah.
more involved perpetrators. There's nothing suggesting BK was involved. Okay, the skin cells on touch DNA, that's a whole different issue, and it's so unreliable to determine how it even got there. So, but there is male B and D. Two other males' blood is in that crime scene. That is what's critical, and that's what he's probably was investigating. I wish. Does he ever talk about his investigation?
There was
What he
only a
found?
piece. Let me look here. So I'm just going to look back on this. Sorry, everyone, for this, but I'm going to look back on this piece in the book. Right now, it says here that not all Steve's investigative efforts had been in vain. So don't just take this with a grain of salt, because obviously this was written by Howard Blum. So it says he had assembled some blue chip sources that he revealed to several friends, included an FBI agent in the St. Louis office who had shared his personal email so that his bosses in the bureau wouldn't learn that he was communicating with Steve. A handful of additional sympathetic law enforcement officers and, most helpful of all, conduits to two of the grand jurors who had been on the panel that had voted to indict Bryan Kohberger.
Wow. Wow.
Yes.
That's devastating. Oh, wow. I didn't even know that, but it didn't even cross my mind. But the state grand jury obviously indicted, right? But if you have influence on the grand jury that is suggesting, that is, oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Wonder if that
I think I'm going to send you some copies of this, and you can look over it. It's quite interesting. It's actually very telling. Like I say, take it with a grain of salt. It was written by Howard, but there has to be something to the story for it to even have been included in the book in the first place.
Yes. Yes, 100%. And I'll not forget Ann Taylor's argument of, in determining probable cause, Ann Taylor was raising the question that by not providing the evidence or the DNA of, basically informing, because there was a judge who signed off, I guess, on the warrant or on the PC as well. Ultimately, that comes through the grand jury's. The blood from male D and B and D was not included. Like there were certain facts that were withheld. And her position was, wouldn't it have been helpful for a judge to have those facts in order to determine probable cause? And I believe that she was 100% right, because you don't have BK's blood there. So you're focused on one person. Meanwhile, the evidence suggests to any reasonable investigation or a judge, if you knew that fact, you would want to know, well, what's going on with the investigation to male B and D before I make this determination on probable cause on skin cells, right? Skin cells that were amplified, that have all these problems with it. So I really love what Ann Taylor was doing. She was just against a monster, and not just one monster, numerous ones, and the monster of concealing information. So I just feel horrible looking at what was happening now in hindsight to someone who was trying to just get justice and just do what's reasonable. And then she finds herself to be attacked. So yeah, no, this is amazing. This is great. And I mean, great that it's coming out, because I don't think it's going to stay locked up anymore. I think Ann Taylor's going to have her chance now in the PCR by providing an affidavit and being a witness to recuse Hitler first and attack the rest through affidavit and or testimony, whether it's Hurwitz and the 68 terabyte dump. All that's going to be coming forward. But the recusal is first, no doubt in my mind.
Yeah, I hope so. I really hope so. Okay, let's see what he has to say here.
His family as witnesses to basically say that he was coerced by his attorney.
They played into
coerced into that.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, are you glad? Because this hopefully opens the door to a possible death penalty.
Yes, in that sense. I wish it would have already happened because we were already in those shoes. We were already in that state of mind.
Now you're
we were ready to
opening
go.
up all the old wounds, the whole thing.
So,
opened up.
Part of me is like, oh my gosh. I mean, we had a house rented for 3 months and, we lost out a lot of money on renting that house that they did not return to us. When that got canceled on the last minute. But we were relocating for 3 months. I mean, but Boise is 6 hours away from us. We were taking our animals. My sister and my son, they were both going to quit their jobs.
Wow.
Because they couldn't get that much time off. Steve was actually able to arrange that with his work. But
this is life and death.
Yeah. I mean,
if you can't show up for life and death, I don't know what to do. I'm just built that way.
And the Laramie family, Karen always says, please, talk about, Maddie and this and that. She tells, she's
Maddie
like,
was Kaylee's closest friend.
Yes, Maddie and Kaylee were best friends. Yes. And say,
USA 250.
Thank you.
I do feel that Anthony Dollinger.
None of those officers are ready for that. These are campus cops for the most. A lot of them are.
Sorry.
Top to where the society's like, why is this family still going? Why are they still here? Well, just because life and death. And this is something we can control, and we don't want this to become our new normal.
I think all the police officers were very, I just had never met him, but yes, he was there. And I see that in the,
they took weeks off.
But I did not know that he even existed until later. So, but I do feel that Anthony Dollinger.
None of those officers are ready for that. These are campus cops for the most. A lot of them are, which means a campus cop is you go in, your office is in the university.
They know these kids too.
Yeah, they see these kids. Yeah. That's their lives.
They had been there many times saying, you guys need to quiet down. I mean,
don't drink this weekend. Don't be idiot. Don't make me be the one to pull you over. We're out there. We're looking. You're trying to keep your community safe. You're not thinking about like this.
Right.
I was deeply affected though by the documentary watching Dollinger. It did. He really struck. It really hurt my heart to see that he was so deeply affected by it. It did. I actually said something to somebody about it. I think Olivia, and I said, he really was affected. Like, I felt like he almost teared up at times. And I think, those officers had to go in there and see what they had to see. And, we heard very early on that they lost many of their officers, like early on, like, I can't come to work today, and we were like, what do you mean they're down 5 officers or whatever, some aren't coming to work. And then to see a grown man like that, a very strong, police chief, kind of get teary-eyed and say, that he, basically is, needs therapy.
He did say that in the documentary.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I know with servicemen and women, PTSD is very real. I'm friends with a lot of people. It's real. That's not manufactured.
Yeah, no.
And there's certain things that are so horrible and evil and traumatic. I think I read people pretty well, and I read him, and I'm like, this guy.
Yeah.
Part of my friend, he gave a shit.
Yes.
He cared. It affected him deeply.
Yes.
And he should get help, and he should be encouraged, and people.
And then we were like, what? And then it was around 5, but where we're at in Idaho, it was already dark. So it was around 5 when the officer came. And
it gets dark early because we're so far north. We're up there by Canada, a couple hours.
It was already dark. I saw him, our front lights were on, and I saw him roll up in the driveway. And I said,
Yeah, they hand you a business card.
There's an officer here.
They hand you a business card and basically tell you your kid's dead.
And
Even said, I've done this. This is the worst.
He just hands it to you and just says, if you got questions, this is where how you
said tomorrow, call this detective tomorrow. And we said tomorrow. And
all the families then had to go down to the police station, and that's what they were told.
Yes. So some were going down. Some, the Laramie's, Maddie's mom and dad, they went down to the police station. We were all just kind of stuck there, and we were just trying to figure out because we just, I guess that we just couldn't wrap our
first room is where somebody was taken to the hospital, and we thought it was Maddie. So they were on their way to go see Maddie at the hospital. There was a lot of rumors that didn't happen to be true.
So we weren't just jumping in our car. We were like, hang on, everybody keep their heads on. Let's try to figure this out. Let's not go racing, and
They're not talking here that Steve was taken to the hospital that night, right?
Oh. Yes, you pointed out last time. Yes, absolutely not. Nothing. Or the fact that
they're just avoiding that. They're not even mentioning it.
Yes, because why? And if you were to be, if you were telling the story, you would say, "Oh my!" And I was in the hospital, and then this happened. That's what I would say. If it was, well, why is he withholding that? It raises a very good question, and the fact that he was involved with selling her car, a day before that on Friday, right? So, or 2 days. Friday, wasn't he involved in Kaylee selling her vehicle? I think so too.
I don't think he went with her. I think Kaylee went on her own, as far as I know.
If someone in the chat, I think he did go with her because the person who bought the vehicle, because Steve G, if I remember correctly, I watched this, so I don't know if it's fact or not, but I believe it is, that she said, you're going to hold on to the cash because I think it sold for $6,200, which I felt, wow, that's a lot of money. What do you do with that kind of cash? So anyway, Steve G said, are you going to hold on to it? Which she said, yes, according to the person who purchased the vehicle. I found that interesting. Now,
and she'd met this person, I think on Facebook, which is strange that he would just let her go on her own.
Well, if I believe he was there, so however that was arranged.
Did he go with her? Alicia said, I think he went with her. I'm not sure on that one.
Or met her there.
Different.
Either met her
there.
there.
Different versions of that.
Yeah. So that's up. Yeah, that's up to debate. But that's my understanding recently. I just found that, I looked at it. Could be not true at all. So, and Grams is here. Timu with a name change.
Yeah, we know her. Timu. She changed her username.
Yes, she's great. I love her. I love everyone in the
chat.
Hey,
how are you, everyone? We've got a lot of people on. So.
First
All right,
Noel.
Yes, I think first Noel, the first time on our live. If any of you want to come up, Alicia, you should come up and discuss with us. Just tell me if you want. I'll drop the link in the chat.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's see what they're gonna say here.
Yeah, go ahead.
So yes, Kelly. I also heard that Kaylee and her parents were not talking. As far as I know, and this has been a long time story, the only person Kaylee was talking to was her grandmother, as far as I know.
Interesting. What would cause? I don't. Yeah, I would have to look into that. But so she was basically almost, but she was living there, which I get it. Parents, you don't always talk to your, you could have moments in time. I guess.
Yeah, it could be something similar. Maybe she wasn't talking to them. If you got kids, sometimes they go through phases where they don't talk to you.
Or you know what? Because it's happened. What if, especially Steve G, if he's involved with the feds, if your daughter's involved with somebody that raises red flags to what he's involved, That would cause that excommunication, distancing. In my opinion, I'm not saying that occur. I'm just saying if
it's a possibility.
Yeah, it's a possibility. Yeah, because what happened? Okay, sorry.
Let's go. No.
We were calling the police department, and they were telling us nothing's going on at 1122 King Road.
And you can see them on tape. They're having fun. There's a videotape of it.
Yep.
There was one guy in that video that they thought might be a suspect, the guy with the hoodie.
Yep.
They eliminated him as a suspect very early on. They eliminated the guy that drove him home very early on.
Yep.
I mean, all of this, now you're trying to put this together.
Yes.
And it's taking a long time.
Yes.
And frustrating everybody. And, and so, but they got home, and the girls, or one of the girls, was on, I believe, TikTok at a little after 4 a.m.
Yep.
So they were able to narrow this timeline.
Yes.
To about 20 minutes.
Yes.
Within a 20-minute time frame, which, by the way, good policing.
Yep.
Very good.
So what really stunned me is the amount now the smoking gun evidence is the knife sheath that he bought.
Yep.
Yes.
And had his DNA on it.
Yes.
That's a slam dunk case. The second thing that makes this, to me, a slam dunk case, which is why I totally applaud you going forward, even though now you got
touch DNA on a movable object is not a slam dunk case.
No, but again, if I could just take 1 second on this, the touch DNA that they had, the 10 skin cells that was run, did not pop up BK's name at all.
No.
So they ran it.
Not at all.
It didn't show up, even though it was under the quality assurance standards of 20 cells. They ran it. His name didn't show up under that run. They then sent it to Othram. They used their Frankenstein AI algorithm to create a mountain of DNA, according to Middleman, right? That's then ultimately sent back. So that's a second search and basically manufacturing of evidence, whatever, manipulation of evidence, however you want to describe it, that then is sent back to the FBI eventually, or run through CODIS, and that's where you get the hit. So,
and not even on Bryan Kohberger.
And not even on Bryan Kohberger. That's right. We're using that gene. They're finding family members. So that is not a slam dunk. If anything, it's the reverse. It's someone actually falling on their face with the basketball. Not a slam dunk. Totally wrong. That's a violation, in my opinion. I
have to relive this pain. I don't wish that on anybody, but I do want this guy to get the death penalty.
Yeah.
And I believe in it strongly, especially in this case. These were innocent children.
Yes.
And he targeted them and he stalked them. And why, I don't know. And hopefully we'll get some answers. Hopefully that won't give you closure. It won't make you wake up in the morning and think other thoughts. But, why would anyone do this? I would want to know.
Yeah.
But so the kids come home. Then all of a sudden they go to bed. And what was strange is looking for other evidence. They're looking for blood evidence. This guy got in his car, and then eventually, when they got the car, they didn't find a drop of blood in that car. Now, this tells me this guy was going to, and I want your take on all this, was going to school to study all of this forensic science and criminology and all of this, and looking it up on the internet, we've discovered that too, to commit the perfect crime. And now, what is your take on that? Because he made the biggest F up you could make by leaving that sheet. Thank God he did.
Yes.
Then we have the videos of him driving once, driving through the neighborhood twice, staking it out the third time, and then finally parking.
Yep. And then speeding away.
And then he ran into one of the other girls in the home. Didn't kill her.
No.
But she saw him.
Yes.
And then locked herself in the room.
Yeah.
She plays it.
So why don't you give me your take on all of it? Because obviously you know more than I do.
Yeah, listen to this. You're going to listen to this because they're going to defend Dylan.
Okay. Eyes to eye to the murderer.
It's a lot of this is in the documentary, but it's frustrating to me.
So I will say this: people want to attack Dylan. Wake up.
She's the roommate.
Yeah, Dylan was a roommate that actually seen him. They kind of had eye contact. She shut her door. She protected herself, which totally any 19-year-old girl. This isn't Hollywood. She's not going to pull out some ninja moves and fight off some guy with a wielding knife. She protected herself, and she added massive value to our investigation. She gave a timeline. She said who he was. He was a white, skinny, which, believe it or not, there's not a lot of skinny people anymore. So that eliminated like over 50% of the population. He was a male. She gave key moments. Plus, the timeline starts when he leaves at 4:21, and he turns and he takes off. He makes a huge mistake by turning his phone on at 4:48. When he turns.
So immediately, okay, he moves off the subject of Dylan because he's not having it. He's not having this discussion about Dylan at all.
Yes, he does what Hannity does, the emotional thing. Young girl, what he's supposed to do, and he's just blowing it off. But he also totally falsified what Dylan had said. Mm-hmm. She didn't say she saw a knife. To the contrary, she said he was holding some sort of like canister, looked like a what was it?
Vacuum.
A vacuum, small vacuum. Yeah.
Also, he's lying. He's twisting it here because she also never said she saw a skinny dude.
Yes.
If you read the documents, she does not mention seeing a skinny guy.
No, athletic is that what she called them, right? Basketball or athletic. So yeah.
So why are they changing the story? But now here's just an interesting point. Sorry, we have to stop and start this video, copyright. But they've always said, this family, they've said, well, the reason they're not angry with Dylan is because even if she had called, right, then it wouldn't have changed anything. It wouldn't have saved their lives. But here's my thoughts. If Dylan had called immediately, as any normal person would have, then cops would have been at that house or the ambulance, whatever. And once they realized that you had 4 bodies in the house, that whole area would have been secured off, and you wouldn't have had to wait 7 weeks to get an answer because they likely would have caught whoever it was.
Yeah. There's no doubt.
So I still don't understand why Dylan is off limits. And I know everybody thinks, I know people come for me a lot, I'm attacking Dylan, I'm horrible, I'm mean, she's just a young kid. And I'm not trying to be mean. I just don't understand.
Well, you have questions.
That they're not angry or upset that she didn't call, because if it was your child, I would be furious with her. You could have got the cops out there. Cops would have been all over the place in 15 minutes if you had made that call, Dylan.
It just raises the question, what did she know? And why would she, does it pass the smell test to wait till 11:58? I mean, to make a phone call?
Mm-hmm.
It just, those are the questions. If you were in Steve G's shoes, right, Christie's, you would have the questions you're raising. So what is it that Steve G knows and Dylan knows that we don't know? It raises a lot of question marks. And it also, we know that her testimony is somewhat unreliable at the very least and contradictory.
Well, she couldn't even identify Bryan Kohberger in a lineup, correct?
In my opinion. Yeah, you're right. She couldn't. Yeah, because she gives the plot, she was drunk. I love that statement. I was drunk. I don't know if I was dreaming. So all that plausible deniability gives you an out.
I think she's lied so much that she actually believes she was in that house. So one of two things: she's either lying or she wasn't there. That's the only two possibilities, because they say, you see how Steve says here, she locked herself in her room. That's not what happened, Steve.
Yeah, that's right. She said locked her in her. Yeah, she didn't. She went downstairs. She was on the phone all night, according to the records. Right? She was using her phone even after she said she was sleeping.
Mhm.
Yeah. There's a lot of disturbing or concerning facts. Then it also raises the possibility, her role, how it just her being the only piece of evidence to kind of thread the needle on this. Yeah, her, Bethany, and then ultimately Molly McMichael in a secondary kind of role, but
Yeah.
placing Beacon there, they all
So
seem. Yeah, go ahead.
the question then, Big Amish, is, and here's a question that I would love to see come out if Dylan, if this goes to trial, putting Dylan on the stand, is how would this go if she's asked, you ran to Bethany's room, please describe what you did immediately after texting one another? What did you do for the 3 hours that your phones were not active?
Yeah, and she might just say, I was sleeping, right? And this is where Bethany comes in. That's why
Mhm.
um I don't know in her statement. Do they ever discuss that time frame you're raising now,
No,
which is very
no.
critical? They're avoiding it.
There's 3 hours where there's no activity, I think, on their phones. I believe that.
Right.
Could be wrong. But then when they do go on their phones again, they're on Snapchat, they're on Instagram, they're on Indeed. They're everywhere. And then the next minute on the 911 call, they're freaking out. Never mind that article where it said that Bethany was the one who actually discovered the
Yes,
bodies.
thank you for sending that to me. Yeah, I saw that. I would love to know more about it, how that statement came to be, who was relied upon for it. Was it Bethany herself or her lawyer? Because if she found the bodies, that changes the whole timeline. Right.
But when, like you said, when did she find the bodies?
No, that was a great find. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I didn't
I
realize
don't know if
that.
any of you read that. I don't have it on screen right now. I'm not sure if I can share it, but anyway, doesn't really matter. But I could post it in the chat as well. So it said that she got immunity, that she would not have to come back to Idaho because she had exculpatory evidence that could clear Bryan Kohberger's name. Now, you have to wonder what evidence she has.
And how it let's put into context as well, because yeah, that's you have to set forth a request in Idaho saying you need this material witness. This is just my opinion, not legal advice as far as what happened. So he's saying we need Bethany Funk to be present and provide this exculpatory information in which it was the PCA was being challenged. So that's the first step. And Taylor, I guess, the defense team filed in Idaho in order to get a out of state witness to come into Idaho. You have to show materiality, but you also have to show that there's a hearing pending. And then if the judge orders that in Idaho, then you could come into Nevada. But what ultimately happened was in Nevada, the defense attorney for Bethany Funk challenged it, raising these questions of materiality, saying, okay, even if she had information, which you don't even state what it is exactly, Ann Taylor, I'm just paraphrasing, that there's no urgency to have her appear anywhere. So that was the legal fight. Then they basically resolved it and allowed Bethany to provide a statement. And that's how there is a statement from Bethany. I've not reviewed that. So I don't know if anyone has, but that's how it came to a resolution. So, and she gave whatever information they agreed upon. So if you can't compel someone, so the kind of questions you're raising for Dylan, you could do the same thing for Bethany. If she was on the witness stand, you could grill somebody and ask very pointed questions, and you could determine and look at her demeanor and see, at least in your opinion, if you're looking at her, is she telling the truth and the like. So, but that was avoided because there was no hearing date set, and they came to an agreement. So that's how it's kind of resolved. So we've got by agreement, defense team, Ann Taylor with counsel for Bethany Funk. So, and there was a statement. I wish I had that statement, but I don't. But I could get it in the future. I hope it's released. I don't even know if that's released, to be honest with you. So does anyone know?
Interesting.
Yeah. So I don't know if that was released or not. That's the kind of procedure involving that whole situation.
Wow. Yeah, that would be interesting to see. Okay, let's play here quickly.
His phone at 4:48. They can cross correlate the last time he's on camera to where that phone is turned on and say, does this time match?
And it matches almost perfect.
The 27 minutes. So they found the road. They're like, boom, these are the only roads possible. Then when he goes back to the university, can we nail him on the way back with the time stamps that it would take for him to take a turn, and they nail him? They've got a signature, a pure pathway. Why they don't take this to court? I think it's just lazy fear prosecutors that aren't held to accountability. We just have to do it. Like, they're elected official guys. And if they're not getting the job done, you should be able to tell them, I'm not going to vote for you. And when we told people to talk to Hippler and call him and say that, hey, reject this plea deal, and he turned you into the police. If you're in Ada County, don't vote for that man. This man told you, if you call him
The judge.
Hippler, you call.
Go for it.
That is crazy. He turned them into the police. Wow. So this is kind of just so people.
Let me go back slightly. Just want to hear that again, what he said. Hold on.
So basically, he's saying a J6 event. This is what he's describing. You're interfering with a judicial proceeding or some proceeding. How else do you call the police?
I want to play it again.
Phone is turned on and say, does this time match?
And it matches almost perfect.
The 27 minutes. So they found the road. They're like, boom, these are the only roads possible. Then when he goes back to the university, can we nail him on the way back with the time stamps that it would take for him to take a turn, and they nail him? They've got a signature, a pure pathway. Why they don't take this to court? I think it's just lazy fear prosecutors that aren't held to accountability. We just have to do it. Like, they're elected official guys. And if they're not getting the job done, you should be able to tell them, I'm not going to vote for you. And when we told people to talk to Hippler and call him and say that, hey, reject this plea deal, and he turned you into the police. If you're in Ada County, don't vote for that man. This man told you, if you call him
the judge,
Hippler, you call Hippler and you tell him your vote depends on if he's going to take this and he's going to take this plea or deny it, and he turns you into the police, that man doesn't work for you. He doesn't think he works for you.
Well, you need to go back a little bit. So we were so.
No.
Well, I just want to say, so what he's saying, I'm just taking him for his word. He's saying just a call to Hippler. So if you use your First Amendment right, that's what he was doing. So if you basically saying I'm disagreeing with what you're going to do, that's a First Amendment right to petition your government official, your grievance of what they're about to do. And he is an elected official. He is a judge as well. So, but by calling a judge, you're not interfering with anything and telling him, look, I'm not going to vote for you if you do this. Because So, wow, that's just on a different note, like First Amendment kind of issue that I see. But the fact that the judge turned him over to the police, so that's retaliation. What does that tell you about the judge? Is that the kind of judge that you want, and this is a victim's father that we're talking about. So, wow.
Jeez. Wow.
A biased.
She's gonna go step back a bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Infuriated about the plea deal. People are saying, what can we do? What can we do? So we have a family page, a Goncalves family page on Facebook. We said, call the court, call the judge. He's, it wasn't like we were privy to his information.
First, we talked to a lawyer.
Done deal.
Yeah, but the judge could have denied it.
Yes.
We were told.
So we said,
we couldn't make him allocute because Idaho has a special law. I wish I knew it. I think it's 108, but I don't know the exact law. But there's a law that says they can keep the fifth. They can keep the fifth and plead quiet all the way through. So we couldn't force him to allocute, but he could reject the plea.
He could reject the plea. So
let me go back though. I want to focus on this evidence. Before he makes the passes around the house, and he's speeding around, goes past the house, then he goes back, then he speeds again, goes back. I don't know what the
4 times.
4 times. Then he's stops.
Avoiding Hitler.
Okay, we have that narrow time frame.
Yes.
Okay, he goes one way to get to the house, and as he's leaving, he turns off his cell phone so it doesn't get caught. So there's a certain amount of premeditation here, no doubt about it, right? Buying the knife, premeditation here. And then he takes a different route home. And then the time that he put it back on, why is that important?
So I think that I don't think he intentionally went into that house to kill 4. I think he intended on killing 1, and that is either Kayla or Maddie, because he went straight upstairs.
Why do you believe that?
Because he went straight upstairs for 1, and I just
he walks past one of the victims' doors right off the bat. He walks right past the victim.
This is the girl that locked herself in her room.
Walks right past.
Never came back to her.
Never went back to her. And then,
but she saw him.
Yes. And Kaylee and Maddie happened to be in the same bedroom, but upstairs is just 2 bedrooms and a bathroom.
And Ethan and
Xana were downstairs. Yes. So he went straight upstairs, and I think that he intended to kill Kaylee or Maddie, and Kaylee happened to be in bed with Maddie, and obviously she woke up, and that happened, and then Xana woke up. Or Xana was awake. Xana was awake. She did a TikTok at 4:12 or commented on TikTok at 4:12, got food at 4 o'clock. So, I mean, there was a lot of paths crossing here, at this point. And Xana heard, and I think Xana was like, what's going on? So I think Xana started up the stairs saying, hello, hey, what's going on? What's going on?
Dylan reports somebody screaming, somebody's here.
And then Dylan said, somebody screamed, someone's in the house. She swears that was Kaylee. Even the law enforcement believe that was Xana. She goes running down the stairs. So he's like,
I don't want to distract you, but the police are convinced in that documentary, so they're convinced she fought back hard.
Yes.
Oh, she did.
Hard.
100%.
Yes.
I mean, that was very clear. Okay, go ahead. I don't.
So he stopped what he was doing up there. He left that knife sheath. He was like, shit, I gotta go eliminate this. There's somebody awake, somebody's running, someone's
He was distracted, ran down the steps.
So he went after Xana. I think he saw Ethan asleep in the bed. I think he just a couple times to Ethan and continued with Xana. This is a little tiny room. I mean, it's probably 2 of these pool tables there. I mean, it's tiny. Yeah. Xana's running all over this room. He's fighting her, she's screaming. The dog starts going crazy. At this point. I think at this point, finally,
Here's a problem I have with that whole story. Didn't the autopsy show injuries with Xana that occur in the front and the back?
Right.
So that would indicate to me that 2 people attacked her.
Wow. Yeah, that
right?
it raises that question.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not a forensic specialist. I'm just thinking out loud because
I agree with you. We know there are more than one person in the house, at least in our opinions, based on.
If you randomly decide to attack Sana, then my question is, why did you not go after Dylan?
Yeah. Why would you leave a witness? And if you're such a calculated unaliver, you don't leave witnesses. He's a criminologist. He's a PhD student. That 101, you learn you never leave a witness. So
it wouldn't have taken that level of overkill if you had, and they say, because he ran out of time. I mean, I've heard this being said online. He ran out of time, right? So it would just take one strike to take Sana out, and then direct your time at witnesses that could potentially identify you. So that doesn't make sense.
No, of
But
course not.
she's saying here that he attacked Sana in her bedroom.
So where was Ethan?
Ethan was on the bed,
Sleeping.
and he was asleep, and that does not make sense to me.
Of course he's sleeping.
They were all sleeping. So in one breath they say, as per the sister, Olivia said on her victim impact statement, you killed them in their sleep like a PE. You know, I'm not going to say the word. Right.
Yeah.
So they've stuck with the story that you killed them in their sleep. But in the same breath, these two are saying that she fought back.
You can't have it both ways. Right? You can't have it both ways.
And I don't know if anybody believes that Ethan was attacked like that when he was just sleeping. Why? I mean, logically, you would attack the witness that can identify you, not a sleeping guy. I don't know.
Yeah, no, the more I think about it now, with all these, facts that if you parse them apart, the fact that he was naked, right? You remove evidence. So it suggests to me, and that's just my opinion, that removing his clothes would have indicated the true perpetrators or those involved, more than one.
Mm-hmm.
So you remove those clothes and then you're going to discard them or destroy them somehow. So the fact that he's the only one that was naked, from what I understand, was his body. I don't believe he was, in my opinion, he wasn't sleeping in the bed. He must have been softened up, right? In some way. I don't know if he was involved in a fight, and there is evidence and statements of him being in a fight, right?
He was in a fight at that fraternity. It was a party they were at.
Right. So DNA is going to be on his clothes of the person he was fighting with. And do we know who he was actually fighting with? I mean, that's never been clear to me, and who was involved.
No, I'm not clear on that. Somebody in the chat might know. But yeah, anyway. It's just weird, guys, I'm not deleting comments. I don't know who's deleting comments. You don't have to. Jeff, we are trying to figure it out. That's the point. We're trying to figure out why on earth he would go after Ethan if Ethan was sleeping. So this tells me Ethan was not sleeping.
Yeah.
I don't believe that he was sleeping. And then explain to me how Dylan knew that he wasn't around anymore. Because if somebody's in your house, you're going to call out to a big guy who's in the house. If I'm in a house and I just witnessed a struggle or I'm frightened, and I know there's a big guy sleeping in the room right across from me, I'm going to start screaming, Ethan, come help.
Yeah, that's the first thing you're going to call out.
You're a big guy in your house. That's the first guy you're going to run to. So, yeah, any guy, even a skinny little dude like Bryan, you'd run to him. But I mean, you got Ethan, who isn't a small little guy. So why didn't she run? Why didn't she run to Ethan? if she was so scared?
Yes.
How did she know that Ethan wasn't alive anymore?
Yeah, well, that's what it suggests, doesn't it? Certainly does. But we don't know for sure, just speculating. And when do phone calls actually go to Ethan? Does Dylan ever, when, if ever? I don't think there
I
is.
think later in the morning.
Yeah, not during that time. It's much.
Love and Other Habits, you're right. Dylan's role was as a witness, because I don't know if she was even in that house. That's what her role was. She plays a role in this. That's just my opinion for entertainment purposes only.
Yeah.
Hi Jethro, how are you?
Oh, there's my man, Jethro. Good to see you. Yeah, no, there's yeah, look, Love and Other Habits brings up a good point, which we discussed in the past as well. Dylan's role clearly was to help thread the needle. She places somebody inside 1122 with, eventually, in many interviews, it comes out, bushy eyebrows, wearing somewhat of a ski mask, wearing all black, and gives a somewhat description. But she's unreliable because she says she's drunk and doesn't know if she's dreaming this and the like. So you need corroborating witness for someone who's unreliable, right? That's the only way it works.
And she changed her story a few times as well.
Yeah, yes. But you needed Bethany to support what he was saying through the text. So that's where Bethany comes in. Then you ultimately have Molly, but that's what role Bethany played, at least the text played. And again, I don't know if anyone's seen Bethany's statement. That could still not have been produced publicly. It's been released. But
I've looked for it. I don't find her statement.
Okay. Well,
so
it's still wrapped up.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. All right, let's see here.
He overcomes Xana and he's like, I have to get out of here. I think he had felt like he'd been in that house forever. That dog was barking relentlessly at that time. He starts to leave. He makes eye contact with Dylan. He's probably like, oh my gosh, there's someone but he says, I got to go.
Dog's still barking and he just made a decision.
So he jumped in that car.
Fight or flight.
And he was like, there's no way 911 hasn't been called. I think that he figured there's no way at all.
So he thought he had no. And by the way, on the video of his car leaving, he's bolting.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's going 100 miles.
He left a mark on the road and he almost hits another car because he can't make that turn at that speed.
I can't go back the way I came. I have to go right.
If he made a mark on the road, why can they not identify tire tracks?
You're 100% right. He's just saying it. So is it a lie or is that actually true? Because you could easily determine what
I think he threw that in. I think he threw that in without thinking it through. I mean, the mark on the road. Well, remember in the old days when they used to get you on your tire tracks?
Yes. Yeah, you could tell the tread. Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Love to see that mark.
To town. They're probably already, looking. So he headed some other way. He wound up getting himself lost out on a dirt road. Yep. That's where he was. He was on a dirt road, turned his phone back on, went to a map at 448, turned on a map app.
That tracked him right to where he is. You turn on your app and says, well, I don't know where I am.
So
tell me where I am so I can get home.
Pick that up.
So it nailed him right where he's at. So
they're like,
he's
that's
done.
exactly where he would have been at that time.
Because you timed it out. Right?
Yep.
So that
out in the middle of nowhere, and he got lost. He got lost because he was
farmland out there, just tall grass.
The guy that's trying to premeditate the perfect crime.
Yeah.
And clean blood. I mean, there was a lot of thought that went into this, and a lot of study.
A lot.
The level of premeditation, I think, is severe. I don't think I can think of a case like this.
A lot.
So, but then the knife sheath, which becomes, that was it. I'm
going to let your audience know something that I don't think anyone's talked about, which they told us at the very end. That knife sheath didn't just have one source. They were going to have an expert that came on and said that thumb, the print had multiple touch points on it, and they can age the skin cells. So they were going to say there was fresh fingerprint type, and then there was aged ones. There was some that had been dated. So they were going to say that whoever did this single source, one person's DNA, had touched this button multiple times on multiple days, at least 24 hours apart, because this is how we age these cells. These cells start dehydrating, and they were going to show that person had touched it multiple times. It wasn't like the cops walked over and said, "Hey, can you touch this pen?" And then they pick the pen and go throw it in the crime scene and say, "Hannity was."
I just saw something, Bubby. Hi. She said, by the way, those tire tracks were there well before this happened. So yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah, it's all bullshit. But hi, Bubbly. Oh, hi, Lucy. But regarding what he just said, he's talking about the buckle on the sheath.
Mm-hmm.
If we know that there's 10 freaking skin cells, what is he talking about? That 5 of them, 3 of them were there before? I mean, we're parsing out literally single skin cells now? He's able to do that? Or is he referring to what Middleman did and created the Frankenstein DNA, which was unlawful levels? So what is he talking about? I mean, it's just crazy what he's saying. Who should be sued by BK actually is the
Don't they need a minimum of 20 cells?
For quality assurance. Yeah, under their standards, you need 20 to do it, to fall under their standards, to actually do it the right way, their standards, their protocols. But could you do it less? Sure. They did do it. They ran it through CODIS. It didn't bring up BK's name. So it had to go through Othram. So what did they do to manipulate it? They manipulated it through an AI algorithm. So you created this second search, and you manipulated evidence, and you made the Frankenstein DNA that was then sent back, manipulated, and done a third search that rings the bell on family members, or at least they're now in the genealogy tree. So it is nuts what he's saying. It is almost impossible. They're telling you a skin cell was laid over another skin cell. Well, if you touch the button maybe twice, yeah. What was it? So he's making no sense.
Nothing. He doesn't know anything, this guy. He's sweet, but he's a bit clueless. Jeff, sorry, I'm going to pause this. Jeff says you can see police photographing the skid marks. I think the only person who has skid marks at this point is Dylan. and not on a road.
Yes. Shit.
I want to see those skid marks. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. Oh, Graham's raises a good point.
Have got skid marks.
Yeah. Well, the skid marks is one thing. So obviously it didn't relate to BK's vehicle. Otherwise they would have said so. Only the G's are saying it here. So it would have been in reports. But Graham's is saying, how fast do skin cells become not usable? Well, that's a good question. I don't know exactly that answer, but on a buckle, I'm just using some metallurgy that I know. So copper a metal affects any DNA for that matter. So it'll interact with DNA, and I'm assuming skin as well. So I would assume it degrades it rapidly, or I don't know the answer. I'm not going to say that, but I do know it interacts. The fact that they only had 10 skin cells, according to Steve G, he's talking about someone touching and showing like a thumbprint. Well, 10 skin cells, that's all you get?
That's nothing.
Something that happened within hours, that's, within 12 hours, that's what they get. So something's not adding up. We know it's not adding up. It's just the narrative is being pushed that you have this underlying DNA on top of one other thumbprint, which is impossible to determine. There's no thumbprint that I understand. Was there a thumbprint on the buckle that anyone determined? Oh, I mean, determined by the FBI or from the, not to my knowledge. Could be
No,
wrong, but
not that I know.
okay. So, but go ahead, unless you have anything else.
So you're saying there were, you're saying there were 10 skin cells. That's what that's what they're saying.
Well, no,
And
the report found there
yeah,
were 10 skin cells that were sent to Othram. The FBI had 10 skin cells. They couldn't, so it didn't run and provide a name. Certainly didn't provide BK's name. So they did run it, but it just through CODIS, and it didn't find anybody.
so where did that story come from? That and I think a good channel to watch on that is Glitch DNA Lab. She talks about the DNA quite a lot, but there was something like anything from 28 to 50,000 skin cells. Now I don't know if that story is true.
How many skin cells? I'm sorry.
There was some story that people said, oh, there were 28,000,
Well,
but
that's,
I don't think so.
is that after the manipulation? Don't forget, they're using an algorithm to fill in the gaps.
Yeah, it's interesting. Is that after they manipulated?
It has to be.
It has
And
to
again,
be.
that's the Frankenstein DNA. It's an algorithm. An AI created the gaps. So you went from 10 to 28,000. So you understand, picture a puzzle. There's 28, let's say there's 28,000 pieces to a puzzle. You start off with 10. Are you going to be able to figure out what that puzzle is? So they then created the Frankenstein DNA, they being Othram, to fill in those gaps, to give you the picture, a picture enough that you could run it through CODIS. That's what they did.
Yeah.
I'm assuming to explain the 28,000. I don't know if that's true or not, but Middleman did say there was a mountain of DNA. Yeah, it was a mountain of DNA. You created the Frankenstein DNA, you idiot.
Yeah.
That should be illegal from the get-go. And it is illegal, but it has to be brought up before the Supreme Court before they could actually announce that it's illegal to do that. Otherwise, they'll consider it new technology used for investigative purposes. But sorry.
Well, remember you did bring up the staged searches because they should have required a judge's approval to extract the genetic profile to send to a private lab in the first place.
Well, especially if number one, if you're sending it to, yes, so definitely the second search. Then you have the manipulation of evidence, which once you do that is by definition unreliable because you manipulated by a proprietary software, whatever they're using in their AI system, to algorithm to create it. And how do you test it? How do you test its veracity, its reliability, its standards, if you don't have the algorithm or whatever information Othram used to develop it? That's what Ann Taylor was seeking. And it's just fair, out of fairness, especially if that sample was then used to eventually determine BK's identity from the state. We know that it existed with the federal government way before. You don't think Othram Labs was already being used? Absolutely, they're already a federal contract. It's just disturbing and foul. Don't.
There, he did it. No, it wasn't like that.
Yeah.
They had this down.
And it also had Maddie and Kaylee's blood on it. And people think it was planted, but when that knife is not there, there's a void in the blood splatter
It was
on the
aspirated.
bed. So
the blood was
clearly
aspirated.
It was there during, like he said, that's where he set it down. He set it down there and he left it there.
Wow.
And,
there's little droplets. When you lose blood under pressure, it comes out like an air spray.
But things went awry for him. I definitely think things went awry for him. I mean, obviously he left that sheath. I think it's because of Xana, and I feel horrible that Xana had to die that way. But
There were other injuries that indicated a fierce fight.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, very.
What a tough kid.
Yeah. Yeah. She was on her feet to the very end, fighting him with,
He's a big guy. I mean, this is kind of a safe college town. This is not.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Did he just say he's a big guy?
Yes.
What? Are we in the Matrix? Is everybody real here? Did he not just say he's a big guy? I thought Steve said he was a skinny guy.
Yeah. He's changing forms, just like the Frankenstein DNA to match.
Wow. Sorry.
It's massive,
I mean, you would go to this little town and be like, this is the most adorable little place ever. And this, beautiful college in the middle and cute little town.
The last homicide was like 8 years before, and it was a domestic violence type thing. And then you'd had to go like 14 years before you had some type of random type crime like this. So there was a real reason for people to feel safe there, and they still feel safe there. If you went there, there's still going to be people partying, passing out on the road, and nobody's taking advantage of them. It's still a safe town. We're not trying to take that away from them.
Yeah.
But something like this smacks you. And to Idaho's, like, this guy wasn't one of us. He wasn't a citizen here. We didn't raise this monster. He was raised somewhere else.
So let me ask this question, because let's go to the timeline. 1:30, they leave the bar. They're at the grub truck. We narrowed down the time that this guy, we have the surveillance video of his car going back and forth 4 times. And then he's in there at the exact period of time where they have an estimated time of death. Okay, here's what I didn't really understand, because you had one girl alive, knew something horrible happened, was scared, saw a stranger in the house, had to have heard some noise. And I'm not blaming this young girl. I feel terrible for her too. She lost her friends. I'm sure she feels horrible, and I don't want her to. I'm going to be I think this is so traumatic for any kid. She's scared to death, locks the door, probably just wants to put a pillow over her head and not want to hear anything at that point. Just my guess. So that's between 4:10 and 4:05 and 4:25 in the morning. And they don't discover this happened until afternoon.
Yeah.
And then they don't even tell you.
No. Yeah. 911 was called at 11:58. So they called.
But there were kids. If you look at the Netflix documentary, long before, kids knew something was up. They were texting your daughter. They were texting Maddie. They were texting all of them, and they weren't getting a normal response. So the kids moved in. Why aren't they answering? Something's up. Let me see what's up.
They learned, and this got to be fixed. They let the university know before anyone else, and then their phones go with an alert.
Well, the university put out an alert, which the cops wish they didn't put out.
Yes.
And then those kids start crying in front of the cops saying, you don't need to tell me anymore. The university just told me.
Yeah.
Before anyone's tried to contact us, talk to the parents.
They should have coordinated with the police.
Yeah, and I'm not here to say there's a perfect way to do this. It's just we got it. These are like little notes that,
Yeah.
It is, that is a question that we have as well. Why wasn't 911 called sooner? We don't know. We can't say, because we weren't in those shoes. Like, I hate when people try to say, if I was Steve and Chrissy, I wouldn't have done this. I would have done this. I would have said this. I would have said that. I wouldn't have done that. This
is the girl that ran into him, saw him.
Yes. So what people say.
I think that's judgmental. And you know what? You and I are grown men. I loved your comments. They picked the wrong family.
Yeah.
I loved when you said that during sentencing.
Yeah.
And then when you murdered my daughter, you didn't just take a life, you shattered others. I mean, those are words that I could hear coming out of my mouth. And I applaud you for it. You attacked what you could never be. What a very powerful remark that you made. And in doing so, you left a trail of devastation far behind that house. You stole my peace. You steered my every, altered my every waking moment, every sleepless night, the way I view the world, people, safety, trust. I've been changed by your cruelty. You made that comment. I mean, both of you, I don't know, I give you a lot of credit, and you're not giving up. And, you know, but with all this evidence, which is why I keep going back to the timeline, keep going back that we have an eyewitness in this.
Yes.
You know, and she's identified him, correct?
Yes.
All right. And then you have the forensics, then you have the videos. Okay. It seems like a slam dunk.
Yeah.
That's why I don't know why they didn't go forward with it in the first place.
I mean, one of my things, when we had a call with the prosecutor's office after they did the plea, which was on that Monday, I was screaming like at the top of my lungs. I was like, Bill, I don't understand. We have it, you know, we had all the evidence. Why just package him up a gift? You gave him a gift. Why did you give him a gift for no reason? Like, you think and at this time we had no idea what had happened to the other kids. I mean, we knew they had all been stabbed to death. And we barely knew what had happened
but
to
the
Kaylee.
other kids knew before. Nobody had gone to look, even though all this had happened. And then all the friends are missing it. Really found out from the people outside the house, you know, that were, I mean, clearly your daughter, Maddie, that whole group, Ethan, the whole group is all very popular, right?
Yeah.
By the way, one other bizarre thing, why did they knock the house down? What the hell was that?
Yeah.
Well, that's a huge voting block right there. You got to be careful who you're going to mess with. That town's got 10,000 people. Guess how many people are in that university? 25. And they get the vote out. Well, that vote's 25,000 people. So if you want to stand up against that university, good luck.
Yeah, we fought that too. We fought that.
At some point, they may, you know, there's always a chance that at some point there might be some technology that might be able to come up. I mean, the things now, I'm friends with the FBI director. I was friends with the deputy FBI director, Kash Patel, and Dan Bongino. Dan Bongino's been on this podcast, and so is Kash. And, you know, there's so much stuff
like this big
that they have.
Listen to this part. I'll pause it. Listen to who he's talking about here.
Okay.
Available. And, you know, you two remind me a little bit of two people that I've gotten to know over the years. And this is a compliment in both cases. One is John Walsh. He did America's Most Wanted.
Yes.
After what happened to his son, Adam. The other is a very dear friend, Nancy Grace.
Love Nancy.
You know, do you know her story?
She's on our board.
19, fiance killed.
Yep.
She shrunk to 80 pounds.
Yeah.
Devastated. She waited decades before she got married and had kids. And now she's proudly sending, you know, her kids off to college.
Good for her. Got her power back.
But when she talks about crime, this is not manufactured. She even yelled at me on my own show one time.
It doesn't surprise me.
I said, why am I losing hope? It was about the Savannah Guthrie case at the time. She goes, Sean, who said this is going to be? And she just ripped me on my own show. I'm like, thanks, Nancy. We are friends. I love you. And she's been on the podcast too. Hey, you know, since 1879, their people have been more than a source of energy.
So you see, he talks about Big Army. He talks about Dan Bongino, Kash Patel.
Yes, he's bringing them all in, even Nancy Grace, all the people that will help peddle a specific narrative and support it. So, wow,
these are pretty big players. And of course, Nancy's on the board. They do admit this. But, yeah, wow.
Yeah, if they have access,
you
know, the Othram being used is the fact that Othram, and there are now the G's, I mean, they are now part of marketing for Othram is, to me, it just rings hollow on something. It's just, I hate to say, I'm not judging them. I'm okay. Maybe they believe in it or not, but it's just watching them at the crime con and how they were acting. And not to say people shouldn't act, they grieve in different ways and maybe act a different way. And maybe alcohol plays a role, just as Dylan. So,
Yeah, we never know.
Where this is going to take us, I do pray, and I always am asking God to open doors that need to be open and close doors that need to be closed. And sometimes, God, you're going to have to take my hand and drag me through that door, because sometimes I'm not going to know. So if this is what's happening, I feel this is a door that God is opening for some reason. And sometimes you don't always know that reason right now. Like we don't know why, we lost Kaylee the way we did. And I know that's not God's fault. I did for a long time, we fought, we still fight. But I feel this is God's will.
You said you fight with God?
Yes.
I was going to skip ahead with you.
The first time around, it was wrong. And this time around, he's going to make sure it's done right, and that is the death penalty. In Idaho, we have the firing squad now. It's not going to happen tomorrow. It's not going to happen next week. But it's also the type of life that he lives in prison. Death row is different than,
Wait a minute. He's getting a PhD in prison.
I mean,
seriously?
And vegan meals.
What?
And vegan meals.
Yeah, because he's
vegan meals.
Yeah, vegan meals. I mean,
I bet those are delicious.
These are the worst of the worst of our society, and we've gotten to the point where we think vegan meals is an acceptable part of punishment for murdering innocent people. I mean, what's wrong with this?
You don't need a PhD.
No, it's a waste of our time and energy.
Waste of our time, our money, and I don't care. Rot in your prison cell until your number comes up.
Yeah.
So the softness that we have in courtrooms, and I'll tell you, man, I've sat at a table like that with another prosecutor and got so involved in a conversation they just walked off and left. Yeah. I said, if you're going to defend what happened to my kid, get out of here. I'm done.
I might have to hire security for you because you remind me too much of myself. You're going to be the person that gets up and pounds this shit.
I'm done. Yeah. I'm done.
I don't mean that. I feel that.
Why are they talking about his vegan meals and
like he has no rights? Don't forget, if this was after all the PCR really is all over and you want to say this, okay, I could that would be fair. But the man is challenging the plea. And it's like you're ignoring the fact that he's done that, and you're demonizing him and saying he doesn't even have the right to a vegan meal that other inmates have. That's number one. Well, is a vegan something that's evil?
No, I mean, listen, he's probably getting worse food than the other prisoners, Can you imagine eating vegan meals in prison? You don't get very much nutrition as it is on a normal meal. But why don't they set up a foundation to stop all inmates from getting food?
But they're not really addressing the question. Those vegan meals that he might be getting, and they probably might be decent, and I say that because it might be coming through the commissary, his parents sending him money. And I don't know this facility, but many facilities have where you could purchase food separate and snacks and sodas during certain times. So that's a possibility. I'm just raising.
Yes. There was a report that his mother is sending him money. So but so are all the other inmates in prison.
Sure. But it doesn't mean that it's on a taxpayer's dime that that food, so we don't know. But the fact that the PCR is being glossed over. I mean, Christy mentioned the PCR, but for Hannity just to demonize him as if something should happen to him, who cares? It should have happened to him already because he's such a bad and demonic person, evil.
Yeah.
So
And
that,
the purpose of prison is not to punish somebody if they're in there for life. That's not the purpose of prison. The purpose of prison is to keep somebody out of society.
yeah, and to rehabilitate.
Yeah.
That's part of it. It's rehabilitation. But on a life sentence, it's not going to happen. But yeah, you're right. That's the exact purpose. And don't forget, Hannity's father, if I'm not mistaken, was a police officer. So
Oh, okay. I
he
didn't
has
know
a
that.
shaded view, and maybe some other relatives as well. But I think his father was a police officer.
Wow. Okay. Okay, let's play.
That's his view.
Same emotion as you would.
Yeah.
I mean, I really do. I mean, to the extent that anyone could ever, you always try to put yourself in other people's shoes.
Exactly.
And I would be raging.
Oh, yeah.
I would be angry.
I'm 5'1", and I feel like I feel that I have so much rage in me for what he did. I feel that I could rip him apart, which is obviously not. I mean, he's a grown man.
Actually, you never.
But I feel.
I've
Go for the eyes.
15 years. I can teach you.
Go for the eyes and the neck.
Just let me in the room with him. Let me in the room. Just let me at him. Like, I just think it. I have so much rage about, and some of the injuries that Kaylee have had.
Those bully type behavior.
Just
We never found the murder weapon either.
No.
It's so
We're working on that.
over excessive. We're
working on that. This is the family that doesn't quit.
So.
Our prosecutor might have quit, and I would love to make him look like a fool. So if we can find this, I will make that man look like a fool.
Well, it has to be along that path somewhere.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be.
He doesn't want me to find it. He wants us all to go to bed and go to sleep.
We will make sure that, law enforcement is there, but we are in connection with, I think, some really good people. And we wouldn't just be like, look what no, we would make sure it's done right.
False hope.
But yeah.
You're obviously religious and you have God in your life, and faith is important to you. And I love your just open honesty that you argue with God, because I think a lot of people would do the same thing in that situation. Why me, God? Why Kaylee? Et cetera. And, I remember I was friends with Charlie Kirk. He's such a great kid. I sense you want to be there. I don't know if you are, but I believe God will give you the strength for the time to get there. You can talk. How do you think about that?
I do think about that a lot. And Steve and I think about that, talk about that a lot, because I'm like, God wants, according to the Bible, we need to forgive him, like we need to forgive him. But Steve said he's never asked for forgiveness. He's never showed an ounce of remorse. He's claiming, that he didn't do this. So what do we forgive him? I guess that's our way out of not forgiving.
Yeah, this is their way of bypassing everything that happens. Look, I'm not trying to diminish their pain as a parent as well. I understand if you lose your child, it is very, very painful, right? So I don't want to knock them on that, but at some point, they would have to. You don't even have to forgive him. I think they're looking at this through the wrong way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think, yes. I mean, they're fitting a narrative to go around the circuits to make these interviews, right? And then you see this emotional side, which you're right. We're not discounting that at all. I feel horrible for them. But there's another element here. There's another element we can't ignore. There's the commercialization aspect. However, they're involved with Othram. That's one. And whatever else they're doing. But some of the statements that they're saying, like there's no remorse and there's the PCR. If they were just reasonable and you mentioned that earlier in the show, and Steve G believed there were other perpetrators, right? Whether you believe whether included BK or not, there were others. What the PCR claim is, right, that he was tricked in taking the plea, they would have to think about that and say, you know what? Okay, maybe he didn't do it, or maybe he was there and didn't, wasn't involved in the actual commission of the crime directly, the unalivings, but he was there. He would still be liable, criminally liable, but it changes the dynamics. I think they should be open to that. The fact that they're not, or even possibly exploring that, saying, where are the other? That's what I want to know, right? Where are the other perpetrators? Where are they? Why is Thompson and others not looking to get those other perpetrators? Now, it could be that there are federal grand jury indictments sealed. They could be alluding to that. I'm just raising it. It just, to me, I'm looking at it, especially how Steve G is so involved in law enforcement and knows all these players, that issue doesn't come up. That's all I'm saying. That where's the demand to get true justice for Kaylee is that there are others involved. That's my opinion. I think you share it as well.
I don't understand them. They're talking about forgiveness, where nobody's actually asking you to forgive him at this point. People don't forgive.
Right.
We don't do like Erica Kirk. And she
Yes.
got up on the stage and 9 days later said, that man, I forgive him. That's fake forgiveness. So nobody's even expecting them to forgive him, right? My question is just why do they want him executed so badly?
Well, yes, they do want him executed, because why? That's how they get their 100 million. Jethro, you're right on top of it, man. He needs it for the guilty plea. Right. So if something happens to Bryan, it changes the dynamics, whether it happens, something happens to him in prison or not. That changes the dynamic. But that WSU lawsuit is in jeopardy. In my opinion, it's going to get stayed pending the PCR resolution, because this opens up. So it triggers that. It triggers that, and it could be maybe Steve G is figuring out if Bryan does get out, how could Bryan possibly help him? Because maybe it doesn't. Maybe there's others at WSU involved here. I don't know.
Yeah. And Jeff, we do love you in the chat here, but you're saying, why do they want him executed? Look what he did to their daughter. Okay, so here's my question, Jeff. I know you're a good guy and we don't agree on everything, but I don't know of any single person who has gone in, doesn't matter what happens, and witnessed an execution and walked out saying, wow, you know what, I feel better now. People generally don't. If you look at cases even here in South Africa where people went to watch an execution, and I'm talking many years ago, there was something in the newspaper where people actually wrote up the experience, and 99% of people said they wished that they hadn't gone to view the execution, or that the execution never happened, because it actually brought them less closure than if they knew the person was sitting in prison. Now, I know that's going to be a little bit different for everybody, so I don't want to put myself in their shoes. I understand that they are hurt because of their daughter passing away, and I'm not taking that away from them. Okay. But think about it. Is an execution going to bring their child back? And especially if it comes out later that they wrongfully executed an innocent man. I think that's the question with this filing, because surely they should want to know, like, okay, what why would you put yourself in a position of facing the firing squad again if you don't have anything? I would be questioning that as a parent. What has this guy got up his sleeve? What is he going to come out with that we don't know, that he's so willing to put himself in front of a firing squad? Right?
Yeah, no, you're spot on it. And the fact that Steve G alludes to other evidence, it's kind of like he's saying this is the evidence that the feds have that no one else really has seen, right?
Mhm.
And I do believe that. I really believe there's other evidence, whether it's with BK and others, but I believe I don't know, but I do believe that there's a lot more evidence that the feds are not doing because it was done illegally, right? He might have access to it for whatever relationship he has and how he's involved. That's what it suggests to me. Um, and ultimately, it's about money. That's what
Mhm.
it's about money. Again, it has nothing to do. I'm just talking about the commercial side. They're involved with Othram at CrimeCon. Clearly, he's a spokesperson. However, it was made. You sent me that. He's or I'm sorry. Nancy Grace is on the board as well, right?
Oh, yes, she is.
I mean, all this, and so this is not coincidental. Like, and at least in my opinion, it's not coincidental. And so the WSU lawsuit. And let me just say this. I don't know if anyone knows this, and maybe everyone does. I'm just going to say it anyway. But just like there was a notice of claim filed against WSU, Steve Goncalves had filed a notice of claim against the University of Idaho. So I don't know if people know that or not.
They filed a claim against the University of Idaho.
Yeah. So just like people were saying,
Okay.
oh, it's suing but they had filed a notice of claim, a tort claim act under the Idaho. So they, in the city of Idaho and state police. So they were included there. So they were notified of a potential lawsuit. Now, I don't know. I haven't looked into WSU lawsuit to see whether anything has been added to that. I don't believe so. I think they have to be separate claims in separate jurisdictions based on
Okay.
what they're trying to do, because Washington State. So you can't sue the University of Idaho in Washington State.
Mm-hmm.
What I mean, you have to sue them in the Idaho courts. There might be exceptions if they did something that has contacts within it, or if they consent to it, which I don't see why. But back in May, that's my understanding. That back in May of 2023, that there was a notice of claim filed with the University of Idaho, the City of Moscow, Idaho State Police, as well as Washington State University. So that's my understanding. Anyone wants to check that out, please do. Prove me
Yeah,
wrong.
that's very interesting.
Yeah. But I don't think they need to do anything. But why hasn't that gotten attention? If someone could confirm it, that would be great. And I'll try and get a document on it. But so why isn't that getting any attention? Has it been resolved? See, could that claim have been resolved where the state of Idaho and the Scott Green being involved? Because the issues that come up regarding the timing and what was discussed earlier in the program was that the university got sent out alerts prior to the police being called. That's interesting. So if someone could have possibly survived, i.e. Kaylee, what if Kaylee potentially could have survived during the time that the university found out about it? And what did they do? Did they not do anything? Could that delay in response or informing police have saved anyone's life? See, that's a critical aspect of this case that
Yeah.
that gets somewhat ignored, but I'm glad they brought it up, and I'm bringing it up as far as the University of Idaho is concerned and the liability in the state of Idaho.
Mhm.
So something happened to that claim. It could have been settled. We don't know.
Yeah, I haven't seen it come up at all.
Yeah. Well, a notice of claim. So it's different than filing a lawsuit. So you first, and before you could file an action against a public entity or a state, they have what's called their Torts Claims Act, and you have to follow the requirements of the Torts Claims Act. The first thing is that within a specific time, you have to file a notice of the claim, the who, what, when, and where, to the extent you know it. You're putting the state on notice so they could then conduct their own investigation of the claim. It doesn't, that's not the lawsuit. Within the time specified, you have to file a lawsuit, but you first have to give the notice of claim. Now, there also could be an agreement to toll the limitations period. So let's say the limitations period in Idaho was you have to file within 3 years. And I remember this came up in the WSU lawsuit as well. What do they have to file because the limitations period is coming up? Well, the same thing would apply for the state of Idaho, for the claims against the state of Idaho University. I'm just combining them all because they all fall under the Torts Claims Act and some aspects of a local Torts Claims Act, like the police department, the local one, Moscow. So that's how it would be handled. You could have an agreement to toll the limitations, meaning an agreement with the state and the state entities being sued with Steve Goncalves as the plaintiff and the estate of Kaylee as the plaintiff. So you could agree to extend the time saying, look, go after WSU. I'm just giving you a scenario. Solve that. We'll allow you to file a lawsuit whenever that's resolved. And the reason you would do that is whatever liability WSU is determined to have, or whatever money he receives, would be offset then by any money he receives from Idaho. So, for example, but you could argue, and you would have to parse out what monetary damage do you attribute the University of Idaho or the state of Idaho and the entities listed versus WSU. So so you don't get a double recovery. That's all I'm saying. So you can't seek $100 million and get $100 million from WSU and then sue Idaho for $100 million.
No, you can't do that.
Unless they're totally different things. So there's going to be overlap. And what I'm suggesting is the one area. So WSU, under the theory, is that they would be responsible because they knew about the propensities of Bryan Kohberger. Just in a nutshell, they knew about his dangerous propensities, and they failed to act on it, right, and causing the unalivings at 1122. The state of Idaho could have similar issues like that. I don't know, but they could have similar issues. But what we know from this show is that, at least for me, that, and I kind of knew it before, but the alerts from the University of Idaho, what did they know and when did they know it? And could it have saved the lives of any of the victims before paramedics or emergency got there? So.
Yeah, I think that's a big question. How do you determine foreseeability?
Yeah. Well, yeah, foreseeability is one thing, right? But the University of Idaho, how did they get notified? Who notified them of the events at 1122? That's number one. Was it Bethany? Was it Dylan? Who was it? Hunter Johnson? Who was it? And at what time? Then once the university has that information, right? Because they follow the code. If something happens on campus, call the university first so they can kind of handle it in-house as much as possible. But you have, and that's why it's so concerning of my roommate is passed out on the floor even though I saw someone in a mask in the middle of the night and I was concerned for my safety. So all of this is playing a role, and it suggests that the University of Idaho knew a lot more than we're being told. It's kind of how Josh Hurwitz is being concealed away in this discussion with the G's Same thing with the University of Idaho being hid away from any involvement. They mentioned the alert, so that's what triggered in my mind. There, and if I, my position is there's the liability aspect, there's a money aspect to this. So them saying that suggests to me that either A, they settle the case, or two, they will be proceeding in the case. And I don't know what the statute of limitations is, 2 or 3. I don't know off the top of my head. And whether they have a tolling agreement, which is, that happens many times within parties that involve different types of defendants that you're suing. And you would agree to that because it would offset any damages you would be responsible for. So I just raised that. It just came up as we were going through this. And I just wanted to point it.
Yeah.
So
I
there
wonder what's
is,
going to happen with that.
yeah. So there is and was a claim, a notice of claim against the University of Idaho, the City of Moscow, Idaho State Police, back in May of 2023, just like with WSU. So
Okay. I'll look into that as well. Somebody remind us in the chat because we, did not know about that. All right, let's go a bit ahead.
Giving him
Wrestling with God.
wrestling with it, kind of, but to intentionally hurt your child, intentionally plan it. I mean, he planned this.
It was a fantasy.
And he, Keely wasn't even recognizable. He did so much damage to her face. And she struggled and she fought him. And I can only imagine what took place. I envision it. I envision what took place in that house that night. And I feel like he is a demon. I feel like he is like, like the devil himself.
It's possessed.
And am I supposed to forgive a demon? Am I supposed to forgive it?
Steve I feel sorry for her. Steve just popped in there. He's possessed.
yeah.
Sorry. I'm not laughing at them.
You're right.
Sorry.
That's
Sorry,
okay.
guys. I'm not being an ass. She's possessed. Let me take another sip of my whiskey. I don't think Steve's seen real possession.
The devil, there is something very non-human about him. And I know that from my impact statement, looking at him, the way he looked at me. And I don't know if he's human at all.
You think maybe soulless?
He has no soul. Look at his eyes. They're black.
Wouldn't that be the
black? What? Sorry. I don't know. What? Sorry, guys. Please. They're black. Where did you guys see black eyes? I feel sorry for her. I feel bad. I feel like an asshole here, but I feel sorry for this woman. But what is she saying? He's a Nephilim. He's not human.
Wow. Yeah. You could sometimes see it. You could see it in the eyes. I believe in that too. Yeah.
Wow. You can see it in some people's eyes, but I don't see it in his. I just don't.
I don't know what you could trust what he says. He must be close with Dylan.
Yeah, I don't know. This is what I'm saying to you about, you remember I've said to you there's a ritualistic element to this, and now they're actually saying he's a demon. I can understand on one hand when you're very traumatized by your child's death, that I do understand. But going on to a show like this to demonize him and saying he's got no soul. But
well, they're using specific words, aren't they? That are
very, very triggering words. That's
They also mentioned Erica Kirk in this interview, as you pointed out before. So there's aspects of, it just raises questions. You're absolutely right. I'm glad you're doing it, because in back of many people's mind, even mine, like, okay, she's doing this, she's saying it, but there's always a reason for it. There's always a reason. These are well-rehearsed individuals who have done numerous interviews, probably at least, who knows, close to 50, probably, if not more. I don't know.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
But as she's saying this, I want you to look there at her legs. She's sitting very comfortably.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
the body language and what's coming out of her mouth is not matching. This was something I just picked up. I could be
That's
wrong.
interesting. She's in a casual, comfortable position, right? You're squeezed in. I guess that also makes you comfortable. She locks her legs within that seat. So she's a kind of a petite person, I take it. So yeah, I agree. It is different. You're comfortable, yet you're talking of a vial, and you would be sitting up and basically almost lurching towards Hannity if you know, when that type of visceral connection comes through, rather than sitting back. You're right. That's a good observation. Great observation, Wendy.
Just let's see what she says here.
Case of anybody that can murder.
Right?
Where's your heart, your conscience, right and wrong, your soul?
And these beautiful girls. And to go in there, and he went in there, he parked that car, and he said to himself, he entered that house with intent to kill.
Clear. There's no ambiguity about that.
I am killing somebody, whether it was Kaylee, Maddie, whether it was all of them. He went in there to intentionally do that. And I'm struggling with forgiving that. And maybe one day I wake up and I feel it like it's here. I could, I could forgive him. But, and now this, where he comes out and says, my truth is in my honesty, or my honesty is in my truth, or something like that. I mean, I'm actually innocent. I'm just like, you were just so disgusting. Like, you put our families through enough. When does a person not say, I went in there and murdered their children?
So the gloves are about to come off. If anybody wants to entertain this appeal, if it goes, I will blast this case through the roof. I've always said you don't kill and murder people and get an NDR. You don't get this non-disclosure agreement when you murder people. And that's what this court tried to do to me. They tried to put a gag around my mouth and say that you can't talk about what happened to your family. So if they thought it was bad before, it'll be so much worse. So I hope that it just is, they do their thing and it's over and done with.
No.
They got their process. They should have this down, right? We shouldn't have to keep doing through 4 years later.
How is he supposed
rehashing this thing?
How are we supposed to get a fair trial now? I mean,
who's the professionals in the room?
When everybody knows the case, whether you've watched a documentary or watched the news, who you listen to, who you don't listen to. I mean, everybody has their own thoughts. I mean, there's people that think that he was framed. There's people that think that he's innocent.
Please tell me you don't read a lot of the online crap.
She does, and it drives me crazy. She's in the bed next to me reading comments, and I'm just like, babe, stop wasting your brain cells.
As a friend, I'm just telling you, there are people, I call them, anonymous keyboard warriors in their parents' basement, in their underwear or naked, that have no life and just like to be mean and vicious and vile and hurt people. And you know what? If you don't believe me, just read comments about me. They're not often good.
Yeah. It's I've really taken a step back in the last month and a half though, and my life has definitely been better because it was just I just couldn't take it. I mean, I was like, I just can't take this. All these people saying these things. It's hurtful. But I did want to say something about the people ask us, and I read, people wonder if we went and saw Kaylee, and no, we didn't. But
I didn't even want to ask you that question. I purposely did not.
Yeah, I just wanted to address it because it is a big.
Big Amish got cut off.
What's that?
Are you still with us, Big Amish?
Oh yeah, yes, yeah. No, I was just saying I'm going to make. I have to cut out by 2:30.
Yeah, we're going to end here, and I think there isn't much to this video. Let's just see this at the end. Yeah, there isn't much more to this.
Okay.
There isn't much more.
Sorry about that.
And every jurisdiction should know all of that, and it's very, very important. I am sorry from the bottom of my heart to both of you.
Thank you.
About what you have lived through, what you now are going to have to relive again. It breaks my heart for you and the other families as well. And
live again.
Go to it, what they can do.
So it's murder has a name.com, being able to help families get answers, because we have been in those shoes and we have walked in those shoes, and we know what it's like to not have answers. And
okay, that is pretty much it for that interview there. They're just going to go on to talk about the foundation and so I think Big Amish, we need to look into that lawsuit as well.
Yeah. Well, yeah, just keep in mind, there's no law, to my knowledge, there's no lawsuit, but there's a notice of claim that was filed. And we also wouldn't know whether there was a settlement, because those settlements, if they were, just based on a notice of claim, they could have been interacting, just like they're doing with WSU in a lawsuit. They could be interacting privately with the state entities in the state of Idaho and may have resolved the case already. Or there might be a tolling agreement that I discussed before. Or they just decided not to do anything, which I doubt. I'm sure if there's money involved, that Steve G would be interested in it. So, and that's why they filed that notice of claim.
Yeah, it's just very odd, everything where they're going on all these, it just reeks of panic to me. They've been on Bryan Enton, and notice they dropped Olivia at some point, because that feels odd. Olivia has been dropped from interviews recently. They went on their own on, I think it was News Nation, took the other girl with the other daughter. It just feels to me like they are in a bit of a panic.
Well, what Hannity just said, he basically said that BK is going to walk. They're going to get a new trial. So, I mean, for someone in mass media to come out and say that, and actually, if I'm not mistaken, we did do, Nancy Grace said that too. Why, if they agree, why don't you just let them, they put the case back on the trial docket. They get it, whether it's by agreement. You can't do it by agreement. It has to involve some admission of some violation in order to reset it back. So if the parties just can't agree, meaning BK and the state of Idaho, the prosecution has to agree on some type of violation for the judge to sanction basically vacating the plea by agreement. Obviously, you could vacate the plea based on the evidentiary hearing and the issues we've raised, but that's how it would get done by an agreement. But if Hannity's also on board on this, it suggests that, you don't talk about things that have a low level of probability and you're bringing them to life. And they're constantly talking about how the death penalty would be used against them and all these things. And so all that, there's a reason for it. And it suggests that he is going to have that plea vacated. And so I agree 100%. And I'm glad that he's actually saying that. So he's getting the public ready for that. So all the
Yeah.
people,
Yeah, it seems like it does seem like he's part of it, right?
yeah, that's what it suggests. Yes, that's what it feels like. So people like Jeff could get prepared. But it's like a psyop if you think about it, because no matter whether we believe he was involved or not, it's basically a psyop. They're playing with how we think of this case and the narratives and what suggestive devices they're using word wise, evidence and demonizing, all those tactics, right, is it intended to manipulate us? That's the question I have. And the answer, I think, is quite obvious, no matter what side of the aisle you feel you're on. So, Jeff, get ready.
Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you so much, Big Amish. We're going to try tomorrow around 9. And then we'll look at that other one. And okay, Big Amish, stay for 2 minutes. Thank you, everyone, for watching. We're going to just have to cut off. And yeah, we'll be back with another one. Hopefully tomorrow. We'll let you know. But thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you for watching.
Have a great
and
day, everyone.
Hopefully we'll see you guys tomorrow.
Yes.
It'll be 9 a.m.
Yep.
Hope you all have a wonderful day. Thank you.